Luot Tion's experience. As the only male in the Luo family, Luot Tion had a unique skill from a young age, the ability to infuriate his father, Luo Quan. The Luo family, a clan that had stood strong for a century, was seen for the first time a child with no ambition, only wanting to slack off. What was most infuriating was that he loved to run to the river and watch old men fish. Were you a fisherman or a fishmonger in your past life? What kind of proper young master from a wealthy family is interested in this stuff all day long? Luot Tion always turned a deaf ear to his father's words. But despite his love for slacking, Luot Tion had always had excellent grades and later managed the Luo Corporation with great competence. Then his second uncle, Luo Sheng, had two daughters in a row, his cousins Luo Xia and Luo Muki, and Luot Tion seemed to see hope. He really didn't have the ambition to inherit the family business. He wanted to inherit some shares from his father, have a wife and children, and spend his time fishing. That's what he wanted most. If he worked hard and had a few children to be taught by his promising cousins, wouldn't they still be the Luo family's heirs? With this in mind, Luot Tion was exceptionally kind to Luo Xia and Luo Muki from a young age, practically writing "I want to abdicate" on his face. Until the Luo family's internal strife broke out, changing him and his cousins. Thinking back, Luot Tion always felt that he must have been blind to fall for Lu Yi. When Luot Tion first saw Lu Yi in college, this Sichuanese girl deeply attracted him. Not only was she beautiful and had a good temperament, but she also spoke very gently. At the time, Luot Tion didn't see any of the fiery hotness of a Sichuanese girl in her. Their first meeting was also extremely dramatic. As a rich and handsome young master of the Luo family, Luot Tion was usually a bit unkempt at school. In the summer, he would wear Versace, with hundreds of thousands or millions worth of Vacheron Constantin or Patek Philippe on his wrist, paired with big floral shorts and flip-flops. In the winter, it was even more outrageous, wearing cotton pajamas, cotton slippers, and a valuable down jacket to class. He mainly cared about his own comfort, not the Luo family's reputation. At that time, he had just entered college, and the Luo family's internal strife hadn't yet broken out. Luot Tion didn't even go home, renting a large apartment near the school and living a carefree life. As for his grades, while not outstanding, he was still among the best. No matter how much he wanted to slack off, Luot Tion knew one thing. If he didn't work hard, he wouldn't have the chance to slack off in the future. Years later, Luot Tion wished he could slap himself in the face. Why work hard? As long as I'm useless enough, those two crazy cousins won't use me as a tool. It was under these circumstances that he accidentally drove a luxury car to school and became acquainted with Lu Yi, who was also driving, over a parking space. Luot Tion was stunned when he first saw Lu Yi because she was not only beautiful but also perfectly matched his aesthetic. Lu Yi was also stunned. She knew Luot Tion, but Luot Tion didn't know that she was the daughter of the Lu family in Sichuan. What surprised her even more was Luot Tion's overly casual attire. "Forget it, you park here." Luot Tion pointed to the parking space. "I'll find another spot." "Well, thank you." Lu Yi's delicate and gentle voice almost made Luot Tion float. At that time, Luot Tion thought that he must win this girl over. After Luo Xia and Luo Muki became pregnant with their second child and returned to Kyoto, Imo Xian asked Luot Tion a question while they were having dinner. "Cousin, didn't you see that your sister-in-law had a bad temper back then?" Luot Tion smiled bitterly. "Did you see my two cousins back then?" Lu Yi liked Luot Tion not only because he was the son of the Luo family. The Lu family could be said to be the leader in Sichuan, and marrying the Luo family was, in reality, the most in line with the Lu family's interests. More importantly, Lu Yi was sincere towards Luot Tion. So Lu Yi disguised herself very well, and Luot Tion didn't see anything before the marriage. It was only after dating that Luot Tion learned that she was the second young lady of the Lu family, and the Lu family had another daughter and a son. Lu Yi was the youngest. From that day on, Luot Tion, who had always been unkempt, suddenly began to pay attention to his image. He came back and dragged his mother, looking for many people to advise him on his clothing. Even his father, Luo Quan, couldn't help but rub his eyes when he saw Luot Tion trying on clothes, his face full of surprise. "You didn't catch any fish while fishing, and you were stimulated?" Luot Tion glared at his father and said dissatisfied, "Your son is in love." "Oh, that's not easy. I thought you would marry a fishing rod in the future." Luo Quan pretended to be surprised. "Okay, do you really think I don't know? The Lu family in Sichuan, right? It's a sin for a father to investigate his son. That day, when Luo Yi saw Luo Tion back at school, she almost didn't recognize him. His face was slapped so hard that he couldn't even look at it. Although he was beaten, Luo Quan was really unambiguous in this matter. He personally communicated with the Lu family about their affairs, and the Lu family was naturally very happy. However, Luo Quan found out one thing, hesitated for a while, and still called Luo Tion back. You and Yi should just date first. I also mentioned this matter to the Lu family. Luo Quan sighed. The Lu family had some trouble before. You know Yi has an older sister named Lu Pia Piao, right? Anyway, she had some jokes and matters of love. Although she is her, and Yi is Yi, I still advise you to think carefully. Luo Tion didn't seem to care, but instead asked gossipingly, Dad, do you know what happened? It seems that her sister was already married, but she was still entangled with a childhood sweetheart. As a result, her husband divorced after only 1 year of marriage. Luo Quan thought for a while and said, her husband is said to have been heartbroken because of this. So he came to Kyoto and opened a company, which is doing well. You can contact him and see. Luo Tion didn't take it to heart, but he didn't expect that as soon as he returned to school, Lu Yi pulled him to meet her former brother-in-law, Shunnan. And Shunnan is also a senior executive of Rongxing in the future. He is capable and is someone Luo Tion relies on very much. Shunnan came this time to see Lu Yi, his former sister-in-law, and give her and Luo Tion gifts. Brother-in-law, you and my sister. Lu Yi hesitated, and Shunnan shook his head and sighed. There's no going back. I truly loved your sister back then, and now I truly don't love her anymore. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Shunnan stood up and left. Unexpectedly, not far away, a delicate and beautiful woman who looked very similar to Lu Yi stopped him and hugged him tightly, unwilling to let go. Shunnan shook her off, and she leaned forward. The two entangled and left all the way. That's my sister. I didn't expect her to chase her husband to Kyoto, Lu Yi sighed. What is she trying to do? She had a good life, but she insisted on entanglement with her childhood sweetheart, and as a result, she angered my brother-in-law, who is such a good person. Luo Tion didn't know what was going on, so he couldn't say anything. Lu Yi said helplessly, my sister before this divorce was a bit difficult to serve, with the temper of a young lady, not paying attention to others, only caring about herself. Speaking of which, she always complained that her parents gave her an ugly name, so she had to change it. She even argued with my parents about this matter, plus my brother-in-law's matter. The family now has a lot of opinions on her. Years later, when thinking about this matter again, Luo Tion felt that her sister's pursuit of her husband was not wronged at all. After all, she changed her name to something bad. She had to change it to Lu Ruyan. Just as his relationship with Lu Yi was starting to stabilize, Luo Tion never expected that something would happen to the Luo family. His two cousins were sent away from home, and he was protected. However, Luo Tion didn't expect that this matter would completely change his two cousins later, and also change him. The experiences of Luo Tion, too. Luo Tion never in his wildest dreams imagined that his grandfather would pass away and leave such a massive mess for the Luo family. Luo Tion simply couldn't accept that his grandfather, whom he had respected since childhood, would have illegitimate children. Hiding them from the family for so many years was bad enough, but allowing them to threaten the main branch families and even his grandmother, those 2 years were incredibly difficult for Luo Tion. Luo Quan told him not to trust anyone at this time, perhaps not even Lu Yi. You know the concept of the whale fall, right? I don't need to spell it out for you, Luo Quan said, looking at Luo Tion and handing him a cigar. It was Luo Tion's first time smoking a cigar. The Luo family has built its foundation in the capital for so many years. If the Luo family falls, how many people will be waiting to get a piece of the pie? Although the Lu family's roots are in Chuanyu, their largest branch company is in the capital. I don't need to say more, do I? Luo Tion wasn't stupid. Luo Quan's words were crystal clear. Could he guarantee that the Lu family wouldn't seize this opportunity to join the attack? Whoever thought they made too little money? Among those supporting the illegitimate children were even old friends of the Luo family from the past. Didn't they still stab them in the back when the time came? However, neither Luo Quan nor Luo Tion anticipated that the Lu family would not only publicly side with the Luo family, but Lu Yi's father would even fly to the capital at such a critical time to discuss the marriage of their respective children with Luo Quan. The logic behind this was actually quite clear. The Luo family was like a towering tree with deeply intertwined roots. If some people wanted to tear the Luo family down, Naturally, others would want to protect it. After Lu Yi learned about this, she did plead with her father. However, the Lu family saw things more clearly. Even if the Luo family's illegitimate children eventually gained control, the families and businesses supporting them were like leeches constantly waiting to suck blood. They were likely just waiting for this moment to seize the opportunity to invade the Luo family's assets. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. These people dare to help them, and their only goal was to ultimately carve up the Luo family. The illegitimate children likely understood this principle as well, but if they didn't agree, they would have no chance of winning against Luo Quan and Luo Sheng. In comparison, if the brothers Luo Quan and Luo Sheng were protected, combined with the engagement between Lu Yi and Luo Tion, the Lu family would clearly gain much more than by fighting for scraps with a pack of hungry dogs. Both the Lu family and the Luo family understood this. Marrying into the Lu family was the best choice for both sides, especially since Luo Tion and Lu Yi were already in love. However, the unexpected still happened. Over the course of 2 years, Luo Quan and Luo Sheng not only prevented the Luo family from collapsing, but also pushed the illegitimate children and their supporters to a dead end. Finally, cornered, they became desperate and turned their target onto Luo Xia, Luo Muqi, and Luo Tion. When Luo Tion saw Luo Sheng arrive with people to rescue him, he immediately asked if Luo Xia and Luo Muqi were all right. Only then did he learn that they had prioritized him, abandoning Luo Xia and Luo Muqi. "Second uncle, you're crazy," Luo Tion roared excitedly. "You've been in business for so many years. Don't you understand that 2 is greater than 1? Trading them 2 for me? I'd rather be dead." Luo Sheng didn't answer. He simply ordered some of his men to stay and protect Luo Tion, then quickly left with the rest. Good news. Luo Xia and Luo Muqi were unharmed. Bad news. A boy was severely injured and hospitalized while saving them. That was the first time Luo Tion heard Mo Xian's name, and the first time he saw his 2 cousins looking like soulless puppets, sitting there blankly, their eyes vacant. That day, because of this matter, Luo Tion argued with his grandmother for the first time. When Luo Quan arrived, old Mrs. Luo was silently staring out the window, and Luo Tion was trembling with rage. Even though Luo Quan strongly opposed this decision as well, she was still his mother, so he could only pull Luo Tion away. "I know you don't agree with this," Luo Quan sighed, patting his son's shoulder. "Okay, all right. I really didn't misjudge you. You're just like your old man. But what did you just say? I know what your grandmother is like. Even if she's in the wrong, she couldn't possibly stay silent, could she?" "Oh," I said, "you went abroad to study back then. So how is it that in your old age, you've dug up the foot-binding cloth again and wrapped it around her head?" I also said, "If you ever do this again, even if I have to risk my life to save it, I'll castrate myself with a knife to make your son childless and heirless." And then that day, Luo Tion was severely beaten by his father with a rattan cane. "I don't care if you talk back to the old lady, but how did I provoke you? That one sentence of yours just dragged both of us into it, didn't it?" Luo Tion was very clear about one thing. His not knowing about it didn't mean he was innocent. Beneficiaries of a situation had no right to say, "It has nothing to do with me." That was simply shameless. So he had always been thinking about how to compensate Luo Xia and Luo Muqi. He even planned to give them the entire Luo family estate when they grew up. Aside from his genuine desire to just slack off and fish, it was mostly because Luo Tion always carried a deep sense of guilt towards them. So, when Luo Xia and Luo Muqi returned from Hobidu, Luo Tion was extra good to his 2 cousins. Luo Xia and Luo Muqi had never blamed Luo Tion for what happened, so they treated him the same as before. Until one day, Luo Tion went to see them with gifts he had bought. As soon as he entered the door, he was nearly hit on the head by a vase. Luo Xia and Luo Muqi seemed to have gone mad, smashing everything they could get their hands on in the house. At that moment, Luo Tion looked at the madness in his cousin's eyes and couldn't help but tremble. The cousins he knew so well seemed utterly foreign at that moment. Luo Xia and Luo Muqi had never been like this before. Luo Sheng on the side shook his head helplessly, while Shun Xinyun was not home at the time due to an engagement. "Xia, Muqi, how about this? I can bring Mo Xian to the Luo family and adopt him, treating him like my own son," Luo Sheng said, looking at his 2 distraught daughters with complex emotions. "In the future, I won't object if either of you wants to marry him. After all, this matter was mine." "No need," Luo Xia coldly interrupted Luo Sheng. "Muqi, back to your room." Luo Muqi gave her father a cold look and turned to leave with Luo Xia. Luo Tion originally wanted to say a few words of persuasion, but meeting the gaze of his two cousins, he was so intimidated that he didn't dare say a single word. The naive Luo Tion thought his cousins were just throwing a tantrum at the time. But who could have guessed that in Luo Xia's heart, plans for future events were already slowly beginning to form. After Luo Xia had calmed down, Luo Tion proactively suggested that he would personally go find Mo Xian. "Cousin, you don't need to worry about it. We can handle his affairs ourselves." Hearing Luo Tion's words, Luo Xia simply glanced at him calmly, then continued to look down at the study materials in her hands. Luo Tion scratched his head and said sincerely, "Xia, I heard he lost his memory, right? How about this? Your brother will find a way to get him treated, whether it's domestically or abroad. No matter how much it costs, as long as he can be cured, I'll take care of it." "It's fine, cousin," Luo Xia replied without lifting her head. "Let's leave it like this for now. If you still recognize me as your cousin, then neither you, your father, nor anyone else is allowed to interfere with Mo Xian's matter." Knowing he couldn't persuade her, Luo Tion could only sigh helplessly. He truly couldn't understand what his cousins were planning. He had inquired and knew that in the Mo family, apart from his grandmother, no one treated Mo Xian well. Since Luo Xia and Luo Muki cared about him so much, how could they seem so indifferent? Looking back now, and then looking at Mo Xian, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, Luo Tion couldn't help but murmur, "I was still too shallow." "What?" Hearing Luo Tion's lament, Mo Xian, who was holding chopsticks and picking up food, paused and looked at him in confusion. Luo Tion waved his hand, then asked, "How long are you planning to stay this time before leaving?" "Xia and Muki mean to wait until the child is born before deciding," Mo Xian replied after thinking for a moment. "Weier and Shuer have also been enrolled in kindergarten. It might take quite a while." Luo Tion couldn't help but shudder. With pregnancy and the postpartum recovery period, those two troublesome ancestors would probably have to stay in the capital for at least over a year. Thinking about the female tyrant in his own home, Luo Tion felt like his life was just too miserable. Not long after Luo Xia started university, she not only chose a double major, but also proactively suggested learning how to manage company affairs. Luo Tion was very supportive of this. This way, he could generously hand over the family business to his cousin. Firstly, it would make up for his guilt, and secondly, his early retirement plan could be realized. However, it turned out he had thought a bit too much. Luo Tion's story 3. Luo Tion had idealized everything, or perhaps he was utterly oblivious to his cousin's deranged nature. From the moment Luo Xia started university, she displayed the cruelty and heartlessness of Tycoon's heiress. Anyone who dared to obstruct her was met with ruthless, life-threatening opposition. Her sharp eye for lucrative investments, her dedication to nurturing valuable connections, and her unsparing suppression of competitors. It was hard to believe a university student capable of such feats, yet Luo Xia accomplished them all. A few times, Luo Tion considered advising Luo Xia against her extreme methods, but the unsettling, fanatical gleam in her eyes made him swallow his words. He sensed that offering such advice would likely lead to trouble. Besides, he soon had no time for such concerns, as he married Lu Yi. The union of the Luo and Lu families sent ripples through their social circles. Some speculated that after the Luo family's internal strife, they no longer trusted the prominent families of Jingdu. Others believed that the Lu family's influence in the Chuanyu region and their substantial wealth made them a suitable match for the Luos. Rumors abounded, but Luo Tion paid them no mind. He and Lu Yi had been together since university. During the Luo family's turmoil, Lu Yi had not only tearfully pleaded with her parents for assistance, but had also, deeply concerned for Luo Tion's safety, insisted on being with him, even against her family's wishes. The wedding was extravagantly grand. Watching Lu Yi in her pristine white gown, Luo Tion felt his life was utterly complete. However, that very night, he began to have regrets. "Luo Tion, let me tell you, if you dare betray me, I'll beat the living daylights out of you. You little brat. You believe me or not?" "Huh?" Seeing Lu Yi, who had imbibed a bit too much in her excitement, now clinging to him and ranting drunkenly in a thick Chuanyu dialect, Luo Tion rubbed his eyes hard. Wait, where was his gentle Lu Yi? His incredibly sweet and gentle Lu Yi? Where had she vanished to? Are you Lu family folks try to pull a fast one on me? Did you deliberately swap her out? He hastily dialed his father-in-law. On the other end, his father-in-law, with utmost sincerity and a hint of weary wisdom, told Luo Tion, "My dear son-in-law, Welcome to the world of henpecked husbands. Meanwhile, Lu Yi stood by the bed, drunkenly urging Luo Tion, get over here and sleep with me. I'm counting to 3. He initially thought Lu Yi had merely had too much to drink and was acting out of character, oblivious to the age-old saying, in vino veritas, in wine, there is truth. So, when he later chanced upon a short video of that man surnamed He and saw his determined, retreating figure, Luo Tion couldn't help but shed tears of profound understanding. We're all poor suckers who got reeled in. Why should my fate be any different? Arguments were arguments, tantrums were tantrums, and her fiery temper was just her temper, but Lu Yi was never indecisive when it came to important matters, big or small. Though she'd often unleash an evil dragon's roar on Luo Tion for no apparent reason, she genuinely loved him. That's why he deeply understood Mo Xian's compliance and indulgence towards his 2 cousins. He loved Lu Yi dearly, a fact Luo Tion knew with certainty in his heart. Of course, he still wished Lu Yi could be a tad gentler. Her demeanor before marriage had been perfectly lovely. So, when he broached the subject, Lu Yi simply rolled her eyes at him. I've already caught you. Do you really think there's any need to keep putting out bait? Damn it, what she said actually made a lot of sense. However, Luo Tion's dream of a laid-back, slacker life showed no signs of materializing. More absurdly, Luo Xia suddenly proposed establishing a pharmaceutical laboratory with a massive investment. Cousin. Luo Tion frowned, looking at the documents Luo Xia handed him. Our family is indeed interested in venturing into the pharmaceutical sector, but isn't your timeline a bit too aggressive? To achieve anything significant in pharmaceuticals, these steps are essential, Luo Xia stated calmly. The Luo family's finances can support a drug lab. As for the personnel, I've already meticulously screened them. You just need to sign. Luo Tion never questioned Luo Xia's capabilities. It was just that ever since she started managing the company, why did the girl constantly adopt the tone of a superior commanding a subordinate? I'm a CEO, damn it. Just as Luo Tion was about to voice his protest, he saw Luo Xia gazing at him with a smile, her eyes glinting with a morbid, frenzied light. A shiver ran down Luo Tion's spine, and without a second thought, he signed his name. Luo Tion felt that if he had dared to utter a single word of dissent, his cousin might have stabbed him with a knife the very next second. It wasn't just Luo Xia. Luo Myuki now evoked the same feeling in him. He constantly sensed that Luo Xia and Luo Myuki were scheming something, but he could never quite figure out what. This continued until Luo Xia and Luo Myuki suddenly appeared at the villa he shared with Lu Yi, placing a lab report on the coffee table. By then, the sisters were already over a month pregnant. The father of the child is Mo Xian. Hearing Luo Xia's nonchalant tone, Luo Tion turned to Luo Myuki. Little sis, don't tell me you, too. Luo Myuki didn't reply, merely offering a smile and a nod. Isn't this utterly insane? Luo Tion exclaimed, jumping to his feet. I know you two haven't gotten over Mo Xian all these years, but do you have any idea of the consequences? Let alone whether second uncle and second aunt will agree. Grandma will definitely never approve if she finds out. You don't need to concern yourself with that. If we dare to do this, we've already considered all the repercussions, Luo Xia replied, still perfectly composed. It's just that I need someone to help me keep this from the family, so Myuki and I can have a peaceful pregnancy. So, please, cousin, sister-in-law, we need your help. Impossible. No matter how much I've indulged you in the past, I will not agree to this. Luo Tion refused instantly, without hesitation. Are you out of your minds? If Mo Xian finds out, he won't agree to this either. I've told you, cousin, matters concerning Mo Xian are none of your business. Luo Xia's expression gradually hardened. You just need to help us manage the situation. Myuki and I will give birth to these children, no matter what. Looking at his 2 somewhat unhinged cousins, Luo Tion felt a wave of bitterness. Lu Yi, beside him, gently tugged his hand and then addressed Luo Xia and Luo Myuki. All right, your sister-in-law agrees to help you with this. Luo Tion stared at his wife in astonishment. Lu Yi simply shook her head at him, then turned to the sisters with a sigh. I'll have my sister arrange for people to look after you. Just focus on your pregnancy. You don't need to worry about anything else. Luo Tion couldn't comprehend why Lu Yi had agreed. Lu Yi smiled faintly and said, Can't you see it yet? That man, Mo Xian, is like an incurable poison to them, one that gnaws at their bones and pierces their hearts. Believe me, rather than trying to stop them, it's better to help them achieve their aim. Otherwise, Shia and Miyuki might genuinely do something drastic. Perhaps they've already done something, and you just don't know it yet. Unexpectedly, Lu Yi's words proved prophetic. The Luo family eventually discovered the truth. Luo Sheng and Shun Qingyun, their faces etched with complex emotions, silently observed Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki, each holding a baby. Of course, Luo Tion bore the brunt of the fallout, receiving a harsh scolding from Luo Quan, who twisted his ear painfully. "Dad, you know me?" Luo Tion pleaded, try to explain to Luo Quan. "I was against this. It was Yi who agreed to it." "Nonsense. Yi is such a good girl. Even if she agreed, it must have been you scamp, who gave the final consent." Old Madame Luo sighed, signaling Luo Quan to stop. She then turned to Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki. "Xia, Miyuki, how about this? Let Miyuki marry Mo Xian, and Wei can be officially considered Miyuki's daughter." But to everyone's surprise, despite hearing what should have been her most desired outcome, Luo Miyuki showed no reaction. Instead, she looked up at her grandmother. "Grandma, you know my answer. My sister and I have already come this far. Do you really think I can marry him by myself now?" Luo Xia remained silent, merely glancing back at Sister Hui. Sister Hui nodded and placed a manila envelope before old Madame Luo. "Inside are the Luo family's financial statements since I joined the company. Also, secrets of various prominent families, corporations, and even some military and political figures in Jingdu, both large and small," Luo Xia said, her gaze fixed on old Madame Luo's eyes. "I will trade all of this for just one thing, your agreement to Miyuki's and my demand. We both want only Mo Xian. And if I refuse?" Old Madame Luo's voice remained steady, but Luo Tion could clearly sense she was on the brink of eruption. Yet Luo Xia merely smiled at her. "Grandma, if you don't want me to destroy the Luo Corporation, then by all means, feel free to refuse." In the end, the Luo family yielded. It was at that precise moment that Luo Tion finally grasped the true extent of his sister's long-laid plans. Even as he marveled inwardly at the existence of such obsessively devoted individuals, a very serious problem suddenly dawned on him. Something wasn't right. They said they only wanted Mo Xian, and they had also produced the Luo Corporation's financial statements. "Cousin, from now on, the Luo family is in your hands," Luo Xia said, looking at Luo Tion. "Miyuki and I will eventually leave with Mo Xian and the children. The future of the Luo Corporation will be your responsibility." The idyllic image in Luo Tion's mind, of himself leisurely fishing, shattered like broken glass, fragment by fragment. As for subsequently being used as a mere tool by the two sisters, Luo Tion had grown accustomed to it. What could he do? He was pretty desperate himself. Now, the most important thing for Luo Tion was to raise his own children. After he and Lu Yi had a son, they were blessed with a pair of fraternal twins, a boy and a girl. Since he couldn't rely on his cousins, he might as well pin his hopes on his 3 children achieving success early in life. Looking back on his life thus far, Luo Tion felt only a deep sense of bitterness. His grand plan for a slacker life had been unceremoniously aborted, and he had ended up working even harder than before. Who was to blame? Mo Xian or his 2 cousins? After mulling it over, he could only let out a sigh. Finally, watching Mo Xian raise his wine glass, Luo Tion said with sincerity, "Brother-in-law, as long as you and my 2 cousins live well together, all my efforts won't have been in vain." As for who was truly to blame, Luo Tion finally arrived at a conclusion. "Blame it on my rotten luck. Memory, then. So how do we first meet, anyway?" Watching Mo Xian sleeping peacefully beside her, Larissa gently traced his face with her fingertip. It had been nearly half a year since they left their home country. The family had slowly adapted to life abroad. In truth, not much had changed for them, just a new environment. The biggest difference was waking up each day to the view of the ocean and the sound of seagulls. Late at night, in the stillness, the crashing of waves could be heard. Larissa slowly sat up and looked at the moonlight outside the window. A vague memory surfaced. It was her sister Laureen's 12th birthday that day. The 2 of them had been sent to the old manor, fully aware that something had happened to the Luo family. Their parents wouldn't have hidden them away unless it was absolutely necessary. They couldn't even attend regular school anymore. Trusted tutors from the family were brought in to teach them privately. That day, both Lozin and Shun Qingyun had promised they'd find a way to come see them. But in the end, they didn't show. "It's okay. I know Mom and Dad are busy. They can't help it," Laureen had said with a smile to Uncle Zhang. But Larissa knew she was hurting inside. Being born into the Luo family was a kind of privilege. Endless wealth, a powerful legacy, the best of everything. But it also meant they couldn't live like ordinary children. Larissa remembered back in her first year of middle school. She once saw a classmate her age being picked up by her mom. "Mom, aren't you busy with work? How come you had time to pick me up?" the girl asked. "No matter how busy I am, if I miss my daughter, I'll find a way," the mother replied. That scene stuck with Larissa. A pang of longing stirred inside her. All the glamorous labels, heiress, corporate princess, felt so cold. Her parents, Lozan and Shun Qingyun, could give her and Lorene everything they wanted and only the best. But when it came to spending time with them, they were always so stingy. Lozan was constantly busy, and Shun Qingyun, even though she had a rocky relationship with her own family, had business to manage in the capital, and she always prioritized Lozan. For Larissa and Lorene, even catching a glimpse of their parents was difficult. "Seriously? Your family's that rich and you still care about stuff like that?" Classmates would ask when she tried to share her feelings. The answers were always the same: disbelief, judgment. "She's just being dramatic. Can you believe it? With a low family status, she's still whining about her parents not spending time with her." No one dared confront the Luo family directly, but the whispers behind her back always found a way to reach her. After that, Larissa never opened up again. The one good thing about Larissa and Lorene is that they matured early. She once overheard Shin Qingyun casually say to some other wealthy ladies, "They're not like other kids." But was it really maturity, or was it forced? Larissa had lost count of how many birthdays her parents had missed. Lorene, at first, would cry, scream, even smash the gifts they sent. But over time, she became just like Larissa. Not mature or resigned. You can't have both love and material things. Your daughters are the Luo family. You should understand this earlier than most. That was what Shin Qingyun always told them. But to the sisters, it felt like their mother just poured all her energy into their father. They understood from a young age. Their parents loved them, but they loved each other more. Larissa often chuckled bitterly at that thought. She wasn't in a position to criticize anymore. Compared to their mother, she and Lorene might have taken things even further. That birthday, Lorene had dressed up in a beautiful princess dress. "You're not going to a banquet with Mom and Dad. Why get so dolled up?" Larissa teased. "It's my birthday." Lorene grinned. She had overheard their parents would try to visit. The idea that they remembered her birthday, even in difficult times, made her truly happy. But just like always, the only ones there to celebrate were Uncle Zheng and the maids. Even when the birthday cake, her favorite, was specially delivered by Lozan's assistant, Lorene didn't have the heart to eat it. She just looked at Larissa and asked, "Sis, since it's my birthday, can I go out for a bit?" Larissa didn't answer right away. She glanced at Uncle Zheng for approval. "Just nearby," he said with a sigh, "and you have to come back quickly." He'd watched them grow up. He didn't have the heart to deny Lorene on her birthday. And besides, what harm could a little walk do? "You never asked to go out. What's up today?" Larissa asked quietly as they stepped outside. "I don't know," Lorene muttered. "I just want to walk around." Larissa gave a wry smile. Lozan had chosen this place because it was quiet and remote, full of old folks, and far from attention. Lorene knew the rules. No going out unless necessary. But today, she just needed to get away. Since they moved in, their lives had been confined to private tutors and an unfamiliar landscape beyond the windows. It was suffocating. Even for Larissa, the walls were starting to close in. But what could they do? The Luo family had fallen, and they were daughters of the family. Orders had to be obeyed. Sometimes knowing there was no other way didn't make it easier. It just made it more painful, like something heavy was pressing on your chest and wouldn't go away. The sisters walked aimlessly, hand in hand, until they reached a large tree. Larissa was deep in thought, but Lorene's eyes had already caught something. "Why is that guy reading a book up there?" she asked, pointing. Larissa looked up. A boy was perched on a tree branch, a novel balanced on his knees, flipping pages with one hand while munching on a melon with the other. He had a handsome face, framed by large glasses. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting a warm glow on him. He was completely immersed in his book, as if the world around him didn't exist. Larissa and Lorene stared, momentarily entranced. Then the boy seemed to sense he was being watched. He looked down and met the eyes of a stunning girl holding the hand of a little princess dress girl, both gazing curiously at him. Their eyes locked. The boy blushed furiously and looked away. "Mo Xian, your grandma's calling you," a woman's voice rang out from a distance. She said to pick up some groceries, and don't forget the salt. "Okay, got it," he called back. Still chewing on his melon, he closed his book, grabbed a branch, and leapt down nimbly, landing right in front of the sisters. Their eyes met again, Mo Xian froze, nervous. The melon slice slipped from his mouth and hit the ground. For some reason, Larissa and Laureen, who had both been expressionless all day, burst into laughter. Mo Xian scratched his head awkwardly, gave a sheepish grin, and ran off, clutching his book. Back at the window, Larissa watched him sleep and couldn't help laughing again. Thinking back, she, her sister, and that boy, who would have thought their lives would end up like this? Memory, too. Back then, Mo Xian thought he'd never cross paths with those two sisters again, but fate, it seemed, had already written the script. Mo Xian had trained in martial arts under Grandpa Zhang since he was a child. Every morning, he'd run with weights strapped to his legs. The morning after he'd met Luo Xia and Luo Myuki, he happened to jog past that old Western-style house. From a distance, he saw Luo Xia standing on the balcony, bathed in soft morning light. The lazy, graceful girl wore a white nightgown, slowly brushing her long, thick black hair. Mo Xian found himself staring, nearly running into an old man passing by. Sorry, he mumbled awkwardly. The old man just chuckled and waved it off before leaving. When Mo Xian looked back up, the girl on the balcony was already gone. He remembered the house. Rumor had it that a wealthy man had built it back in the day, but his children had either moved abroad or bought places in the heart of the capital. After the old folks passed away, the place had been left empty. Occasionally, people said someone had moved in, and it had seemed rushed. The workers went around the clock with renovations and got it ready in just a few days. Nobody was quite sure when it happened, but the place had become occupied. Strangely, though, the new residents almost never showed themselves. If people hadn't occasionally seen someone outside during the day, the grannies and aunties in the neighborhood would have sworn the place was haunted. Mo Xian shook his head, ready to continue his run, only to see the front gate open. Luo Xia stood there with a comb in hand, silent, simply gazing at him. At 13, Mo Xian was just beginning to awaken to the world, and Luo Xia was far too beautiful. He felt a sudden urge to run away. Want to come in for a bit? Her voice was clear and melodic. Just into the yard. Startled, Mo Xian turned back. The beautiful older girl looked at him with a faint smile, those striking, almond-shaped eyes watching him closely. I don't think I should, he stammered. He hadn't expected the girl he'd just met the day before to invite him in. Luo Xia herself wasn't sure why she did it. Something about the boy stood out. She couldn't quite place it. Having grown up in the Luo family, she'd met all kinds of people. Yet Mo Xian felt different. She even wondered if maybe she was just seeing him through rose-colored glasses because he was good-looking. It wasn't until later that she realized. It was that image of Mo Xian sitting up in the tree, completely disconnected from the world, lost in a moment of peace. That image burned itself into her and Luo Myuki's memory. That was why she became curious about him. At first, Luo Xia thought she was just bored, looking for something to pass the time. But over the years, they would weave a net around Mo Xian, only to find they had been the ones caught first. Sorry for intruding. I won't bother your family, will I? Mo Xian asked nervously as he followed her inside. At that time, he was still shorter than Luo Xia. She glanced back at him and replied calmly, It's fine. Besides the butler and the maids, it's just me and my sister here. Mo Xian nearly tripped. Had he unknowingly stumbled into the life of someone incredibly wealthy? The yard was neatly kept. There were flower beds, a clean white table with chairs, and a swing not far off. Luo Xia sat in one of the chairs and looked at him. Have a seat. Just as Mo Xian sat down, he heard the sound of hurried footsteps. He turned instinctively to see Luo Myuki, hair wildly tousled, barefoot in slippers, wearing a long pink cartoon nightgown. She'd been running toward her sister, but the moment she saw Mo Xian, she froze like someone had slammed on the brakes. Despite her baby fat and young face, she strongly resembled Luo Xia, especially those almond-shaped eyes. Mo Xian gave her a polite nod. Luo Myuki immediately turned and dashed back the way she came, the maid chasing after her finally caught up, only to turn and chase her all over again. You saw my sister yesterday, too, Luo Xia said calmly. She just woke up and wanted me to brush her hair. But with a stranger here, she probably felt shy. Mo Xian understood. There was a girl he'd known since childhood named Su Yanran. She often came to visit his grandmother, and every time, she dressed up prettily. His grandmother always asked him to keep her company, even though he wasn't that keen on it. Su Yanran could be kind of handful. He remembered her once saying, with a proud pout, girls care a lot about their looks. It made sense. Waking up looking like a mess and running into a stranger wasn't ideal. Just as Mo Xian was about to say something, Luo Xia suddenly asked. Your name is Mo Xian, right? Huh. He was caught off guard. How did you know? That aunt called out to you yesterday. We were there too, she said with a smile. I'm Luo. Luo Weiwei. That's my sister, Luo Xiaoxiu. She didn't tell him their real names. Even though she had a strange fondness for this boy, given their situation, it was better not to use their real names, for his sake and theirs. Back then, Luo Xia never imagined what would come of her and her sister's relationship with this boy. After introducing herself, she fell silent. Mo Xian sat with his head lowered, clearly nervous, and she didn't know what to say next either. I should get going. Still have to finish my run, he finally said, breaking the silence with an awkward voice. Thankfully, it was the weekend. If it had been a school day, he'd probably be late by now. I'll walk you out, Luo Xia said, standing slowly. That just made him even more confused. You invited me in just to sit for a bit, and now you're walking me out? All right, if you're free, could I ask a favor? She asked as they reached the gate. My sister doesn't have anyone to play with. I have homework sometimes, so I was wondering if you could keep her company. That might not be so convenient, Mo Xian scratched his head. I mean, I'm a boy, and we've only met twice. I know, she nodded, but there aren't any kids our age around here. She wasn't lying. Though they rarely left the house, she'd asked Uncle Zheng to look into the neighbors. Besides kids raised by grandparents, there was only one boy their age, Mo Xian. He wanted to refuse. After all, they were practically strangers. But then he glanced over and saw Luo Muki standing not far away, peeking at him from behind a maid. Her eyes were full of shy hope. Our family is a little unusual. That's why we don't go out much, Luo Xia added gently. If it makes you uncomfortable, I won't force you. It's just, my sister really spends a lot of time alone. Mo Xian hesitated. He had no real obligation to say yes. But the way Luo Muki looked at him, so adorably pitiful, he couldn't bring himself to refuse. He wouldn't deny it. She was just too cute. The way she looked at him felt like a direct hit to the heart. All right, he sighed. He didn't have many friends anyway. If he could put up with Su Yanran, how bad could this girl be? What Mo Xian didn't realize was that by agreeing, he wasn't just signing up to play with Luo Muki from time to time. He was offering himself up entirely to the two sisters. Even after losing his memory, Mo Xian had no idea he'd already tasted their most distinct trait, always pushing boundaries, and awa. Memories 3. From that day on, Mo Xian really did start coming over to spend time with Luo Muki, or more accurately, to play with both sisters. Actually, when he first started interacting with Luo Muki alone, she was very shy, sometimes lowering her head and avoiding his gaze. And Mo Xian was even more embarrassed. Although he had known Su Yanran for a long time, back then he was completely pushed by his grandmother, plus Su Yanran was quite outgoing. So, there they were in the courtyard, Mo Xian awkwardly looking around, while Luo Muki kept her head down, her hands gently fiddling with her pretty dress. Meanwhile, Luo Xia stood on the second-floor balcony, quietly watching them. The three of them remained silent in this extremely strange way for a long time. So much so that Uncle Zheng and the maids were a bit bewildered. So, what exactly did the eldest miss ask him to come here for? Just to space out with the second miss. Go prepare some snacks, and also, get a Coke for that boy, Uncle Zheng instructed the maid behind him. It's still a bit hot right now, add some ice. Boys his age usually love these kinds of carbonated drinks. But, Butler Zheng, we don't have any Coke. You know, the eldest miss and second miss aren't allowed to drink carbonated beverages. Then go out and buy some, can't you? Uncle Zheng shot her a fierce glare upon hearing her words. It's something you can easily find at any convenience store nearby. And you're still asking me? It had to be said, the Luo family's servants were truly efficient. The snacks were prepared quickly, and Luo Muki's favorite black tea, along with a glass of Coke with ice, were placed before the two of them. After Mo Xian said thank you, he turned to see Luo Muki staring at the bubbly Coke in front of him. After a moment's thought, he gently pushed the Coke towards Luo Muki. Do you want to try this? Luo Muki shook her head and then said softly, My mother doesn't allow me to drink this kind of beverage. Hearing this, Mo Xian took the Coke back. The two fell silent again. Forcing two people who weren't familiar with each other to chat did seem a bit like asking too much. Uncle Zheng didn't quite understand why the eldest miss was doing this. However, he didn't think Luo Muki disliked Mo Xian. As the second miss of the Luo family, if Luo Muki didn't like someone, she would show it directly, and no one would think she was out of line. Her birth was her greatest privilege. For this reason, Luo Muki didn't really have any friends around her at that time. Uncle Zheng, who had watched these two girls grow up, knew them fairly well. Luo Miyuki, acting like this, was probably just shy. Can't you guys go out? Mo Xian found the atmosphere too awkward and took the initiative to ask. Actually, there are some fun places nearby. You could ask your family to take you. Luo Miyuki shook her head. Mo Xian seemed to understand that it really wasn't convenient for them to go out, so he didn't press further. However, Luo Miyuki suddenly pushed the pink cake in front of her towards Mo Xian. Here, you can have this. Luo Miyuki was indeed just shy, as Uncle Zheng had thought. At only 12 years old, she didn't know what love was, but when she saw Mo Xian, Luo Miyuki found her gaze unconsciously drawn to him. Regarding Mo Xian, she was very grateful to her sister. She was indeed very lonely. Although Luo Xia was by her side, the 16-year-old Luo Xia obviously couldn't always be with her. Besides studying, Luo Xia often stayed up late reading, and Luo Miyuki didn't feel right bothering her sister about everything. For some reason, when she was with this boy, she felt an inexplicable sense of peace. It was just that Luo Miyuki really wasn't familiar with him and truly didn't know what to say to him. Actually, I'm quite envious of you, Mo Xian said with a smile. Look, even though it's not convenient for you to go out now, at least you don't have to go to school. You can study at home. Don't you find it boring? It's all right, I guess. At least it's better than me having to face people at school every day. Mo Xian had a very calm temperament and wasn't keen on socializing. Yet, his grades were excellent. Previously, when classmates deliberately tried to pick fights, Mo Xian couldn't be bothered to argue with them and completely ignored them. Until one time, the other party went too far, and Mo Xian beat them up. From that day on, no one harassed him, but of course, no one talked to him either. So you see, isn't this pretty good in its own way? Mo Xian said, smiling as he shared his experiences with her. Since life is already like this, don't make things hard for yourself. It's better to just relax and be more open-minded. Luo Xia, hearing Mo Xian's words from the second floor, was momentarily surprised. How could a 13-year-old think so deeply? Mo Xian looked around the old Western-style house, then said with a helpless smile, I heard from my grandma that my biological parents also live in a big house like this. But I was sent here to live with my grandma since I was little, and I can count on one hand the number of times I see them all year. I don't know about your family situation, but look, you have your sister and people who take good care of you. Hearing Mo Xian's words, Luo Miyuki couldn't help but look up at him. After a long pause, she carefully asked, Then, who do you spend your birthdays with? My grandma. Forget birthdays. I don't even know how long it's been since I last received a gift, Mo Xian shrugged. My grandma told me to just pretend they're dead, and that they occasionally come back to life a few times a year. Honestly, sometimes when I see them, it takes me a long time to realize, oh right, those are my parents. Though Mo Xian tried to sound nonchalant, Luo Xia detected a trace of bitterness in his words. How could a 13-year-old boy, whose parents had been almost entirely absent throughout his childhood, really be as carefree as he made himself out to be? However, because his tone was a bit playful when he spoke, Luo Miyuki, who had been silent with her head down, couldn't help but laugh out loud. Sometimes the way people grow closer seems so simple, just a joke. Mo Xian and Luo Miyuki seemed to have bridged much of the distance between them. Luo Miyuki would tell Mo Xian about her school days, and Mo Xian would share some of his experiences with her. When they talked about happy things, they would laugh together, and the drinks and snacks in front of them were quickly finished. Luo Xia saw Luo Miyuki's bright smile, and, though happy for her, felt an inexplicable discomfort. She glanced at the two still talking and laughing downstairs and found the sight somehow jarring. She couldn't help but retreat to her room with a wry smile. She was actually very jealous of Luo Miyuki, who had someone to laugh and talk with like this, while she herself had to play the role of the older sister. A fleeting thought even crossed her mind. Maybe I should have him talk with me too. However, Luo Xia shook her head hard. What was she thinking? She was already 16. To want a 13-year-old boy to talk to her, to cheer her up like he did her younger sister? Luo Xia thought she must be going crazy, although she didn't deny that she did have a good impression of Mo Xian. Putting all her worries aside for the moment, Luo Xia sat at her desk and started working on her assignments. She didn't know when Mo Xian left. She only noticed at dinner that Luo Miyuki was a bit different than usual, seeming very happy. Uncle Zheng, is he coming again tomorrow? Hearing Luo Miyuki's question, Uncle Zheng replied with a helpless, wry smile, Second miss, you've already asked several times. He'll come over after school to do homework with you, remember? Miyuki, he's not like us, Luo Xia said, frowning at her sister. He has his own daily life. I asked him to be your playmate, but you can't disrupt him. Luo Miyuki pouted unhappily upon hearing Luo Xia's words. But I really like being with him. Hearing Luo Miyuki's quiet mumble, Luo Xia sighed and then said to her seriously, "How about this? When he comes tomorrow, I'll personally tutor both of you. We can use that as a reason for him to come over more often, okay?" Years later, Luo Miyuki once asked Luo Xia, "Sis, back then, did you also really hope to see brother Mo Xian more often?" Luo Xia just smiled and replied with a hint of playfulness, "Guess. Oh, come on, sis. Do you really think I was so young I didn't understand anything?" Luo Miyuki huffed in dissatisfaction. "Back then, when brother Mo Xian came to do homework with me, every time I looked up, your eyes were glued on him. Because at that time, I didn't know if it was like or not." Luo Xia smiled, then looked out the window. "Because seeing him just made me inexplicably happy." Isn't that still liking him then? A 16-year-old high schooler liking a younger boy. Hearing Luo Miyuki's words, Luo Xia's expression turned icy as she looked at her and said through gritted teeth, enunciating each syllable, "Luo, Mu, Chi, this darn girl. She just had to say what I was really thinking." Memory 4. From that day on, Mo Xian started going to the old house after school every day to do homework with Luo Miyuki. At first, he didn't tell his grandmother, but when she saw he'd already finished his homework by the time he got home, she didn't question it. From her perspective, maybe he'd grown closer to a classmate. So long as it didn't affect his grades or his growth, she didn't pry. "Brother, I don't know how to do this question." After just a few days, Miyuki had warmed up to him quite a bit. Mo Xian was a year older than her, so she started calling him brother. Mo Xian was patient. Whenever Miyuki asked, he'd lean over and explain how to solve the problems. Sometimes, Luo Xia couldn't help but want to call Miyuki out. This girl clearly knew how to do the questions. She just wanted an excuse to talk to Mo Xian more. Watching the two of them with their heads close together, Mo Xian gently pointing to her paper with his pen and explaining the steps, Xia felt a strange, unexplainable irritation. These past couple of days, she'd stayed with them under the pretense of tutoring, but honestly, she wasn't much help. Miyuki's grades were already good, and Mo Xian's were even better than her little sister's. If Miyuki had any questions, she went straight to Mo Xian instead of Xia. In the end, it felt like she was the one who didn't belong. What surprised her even more was that since they were young, she and Miyuki had always had plenty of boys around them. But the Luo sisters had always thought talking to them was a waste of time. And yet, when it came to Mo Xian, Miyuki was a completely different person. "Brother, why don't you stay for dinner tonight?" Miyuki asked shyly. "Sister, what do you think?" "Thanks, but I should head home," Mo Xian replied politely. "My grandma's waiting for me to eat together." "Sorry. Mu, Xiao Xua. Let's have him over for dinner on the weekend instead," Luo Xia said as she closed her book. "When you finish your homework, I'll walk him out." Miyuki pouted unhappily, but didn't argue. After finishing their homework, Mo Xian packed up his things and said goodbye to Miyuki. When he passed by Uncle Zheng and the maids, he also politely said his farewells. "Gotta say, our second young lady and Mo Xian make a pretty cute pair," Uncle Zheng muttered under his breath. But he immediately felt a chill run down his spine. Turning around, he saw Luo Xia staring at him with clear displeasure. "What's going on? I didn't offend you, did I?" Uncle Zheng had worked here for years, and this was the first time he'd ever seen Xia look at him like that. Something was definitely off. Even Luo Xia couldn't explain it herself. When she heard Uncle Zheng's comment, that feeling of unease inside her grew stronger. In a way, Mo Xian and Miyuki did look like a good match, even if they were still young. But for some reason, hearing someone else say it made her feel uncomfortable. Looking at the boy who hadn't even grown as tall as her yet, Xia spoke coldly. "Let's go. I'll walk you out." "No need, Vivijia. I can go on my own." Before he could finish, Luo Xia had already brushed past him and walked out. Mo Xian and Uncle Zheng exchanged glances, both a little confused. At the gate, just as Mo Xian was about to say goodbye, Luo Xia reached for the doorknob, then turned to look at him with a strange expression. "Vivijia, are you okay?" Mo Xian asked cautiously. "Did I do something to upset you?" Xia didn't answer. She just stared at him in silence. After a moment, she opened the door and softly said, "See you tomorrow." Mo Xian couldn't make sense of it. This big sister was acting really weird today. For the next 2 days, Luo Xia didn't show up while Mo Xian and Miyuki did their homework. In fact, Mo Xian didn't see her at all. Xiao Xu," he said one afternoon. When Miyuki heard him call her that, she froze for a moment. Only when he repeated it did she remember. That was the name she used in front of him. What is it, brother? She asked, lowering her head a little guilty. Mo Xian didn't notice anything off. Thinking she was just focused on her work, he asked quietly, "Did I make your sister mad?" "Probably not." Miyuki thought for a second. "You didn't do anything, did you?" Mo Xian adjusted his oversized glasses, still convinced Luo Xia had been upset that day. But for the life of him, he couldn't figure out why. After they finished their homework, Mo Xian packed his things. The sky was already starting to darken when he left. As he looked up, he saw a figure on the balcony quickly retreat. With a sigh, he stepped out of the yard. He hadn't gone far when he heard someone call out behind him, "Mo Xian, wait." He turned around, a little dazed, just in time to see Luo Xia running toward him. She shoved a phone into his hand. "There's only one number in it, mine, and a messaging account I registered for you. It only has me added," she said, avoiding his eyes. "You're still young. Just use this to keep in touch with me. I'll message you. Oh, and don't let your grandma know. I really can't accept this." "Take it," she snapped, her tone suddenly sharp. Mo Xian flinched in surprise. "Anyway, if I need to contact you, I will." Without waiting for his reply, Xia turned and ran back, leaving Mo Xian standing there, staring after her, completely baffled. What is with this big sister? She's so weird. After dinner, Mo Xian chatted with his grandma for a bit, then showered and went back to his room. When he finally checked the phone, he saw over a dozen messages from Luo Xia. "Are you there? Where did you go? I didn't really have anything to say. Just wanted to check if you got home safe. Where are you?" Mo Xian was speechless. The more he read, the weirder she seemed. And what was with this nickname she gave him? Xuan 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 Xuan. What the heck is that? He looked at her username too. 5 Vivies. Fine. Whatever makes her happy. Xian 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 Xian. Vivi Jia, I was eating dinner just now. Sorry I didn't see the messages. Vivi 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 Vivi. That's good. Rest early. A while later, she sent another message. Don't add anyone else. You're still young. Other people will distract you from studying. Just chat with me, okay? Mo Xian scratched his head. Who else would I even add? But thinking about it, she probably just meant well. So he replied with a good night and put the phone away. On the other side, Luo Xia smiled as she saw his message. When she exited the chat, the contact list on the messaging app was still empty, except for that one single friend. From that day on, Mo Xian was doing double duty, homework with Luo Miyuki and chatting with Luo Xia. At first, her messages were normal, just asking about his life and studies. But gradually, the tone started to shift. She began asking what his favorite color was, what foods he liked, his favorite anime. Then came the subtle guidance. Lectures about the dangers of puppy love, delivered like little life lessons. Mo Xian had to keep reminding her that he was only 13. 13's not that young, she messaged. If a girl at school likes you, make sure to tell her you're focused on your studies. Or tell her you prefer someone older, more mature, like a high school girl. Mo Xian stared at the screen, scratching his head. Vivi Jia, I only know an high school girl. About a minute later, she replied. Then you can just say it's me, Mo Xian. What is going on with this big sister I met by chance? She's getting weirder by the day. As Luo Xia smiled at her screen, ready to type another message, her bedroom door creaked open. Luo Miyuki walked in, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Sis, I don't know why. I was sleeping, but suddenly my chest felt tight and uncomfortable. Xia instinctively shoved her phone aside and reached out to her sister. Maybe you ate something bad? Are you feeling sick? I don't know. I just have this weird feeling like someone else's memories. Secrets have a way of getting out, especially between sisters living under the same roof. Before long, Luo Miyuki noticed something was off about her older sister. Every day after meals, her sister would find an excuse to go back to her bedroom, either saying she had homework to do or books to read. This continued until, on a few occasions when Miyuki went to Luo Xia's bedroom to find her, she saw her sitting at her desk with her phone beside her. Luo Miyuki had asked at first if she was chatting with their parents without telling her. No, I just had my phone out to look up information easily, Luo Xia replied calmly. If it were mom and dad, wouldn't I tell you? Luo Miyuki knew it probably wasn't their parents, but she still felt her sister was lying. After all, she had a computer, and Luo Xia always preferred using her computer to look up study materials. Besides, when Miyuki went in, Luo Xia's laptop was on and right beside her. And sometimes, during lunch, she would see her sister holding her phone, a smile on her face. Sis, who are you actually chatting with every day? The more Luo Miyuki thought about it, the weirder it seemed. Could it be that her sister had met someone online? Sis, let me tell you, online dating is risky. Hearing this, Luo Xia couldn't help but roll her eyes and said irritably, Where do you even hear all this nonsense? Sis, I watch a lot of TV. Luo Miyuki said, looking like she knew all about it, patiently trying to advise her sister. You have to be careful. There are so many scammers online these days. And aren't you afraid it might be bad people trying to harm our family, tricking you into revealing things? Luo Xia rolled her eyes again, turned with her phone, and was about to go upstairs. After a thought, she looked back at Luo Miyuki and said, It's the weekend. Mo Xian agreed to have dinner at our place. Why don't you think about that first? Hearing that Mo Xian had agreed to stay for dinner, Luo Miyuki couldn't help but blush. She was just wondering which dress she should wear that day when her excitement was quickly replaced by a crucial question. Wait a minute. If he agreed to eat here, why will my sister know before me? Didn't you invite Mo Xian before? Luo Xia seemed to sense her sister's confusion. He agreed that day. Don't you remember? Luo Miyuki thought for a long time, but couldn't figure it out. What had he agreed to? Didn't she ask him to stay for dinner that day? And her sister said they'd discuss it on the weekend? For some reason, Luo Miyuki had a very uncomfortable feeling, as if her sister was treating her like a fool. The more she thought about it, the more suspicious it became. Luo Miyuki kept wanting to secretly grab her sister's phone to check it, but Luo Xia seemed to be attached to her phone at the hip. The most incredible part was when she finally waited for her sister to take a shower, only to find out she had taken her phone into the bathroom with her. Aren't you afraid of water damage? She always felt something was off. So, when Mo Xian came over again to help her with her homework, Luo Miyuki asked him directly, Brother Mo Xian, don't you think my sister has been really strange lately? Always on her phone, having an online romance. The worksheet in Mo Xian's hand nearly dropped to the floor. If he wasn't mistaken, the online romance partner of Luo Xia she was talking about was him. Maybe you're overthinking it. Isn't Sister Wei Wei busy studying every day? Mo Xian said guiltily, lowering his head. Let's not think about this now. Hurry up and do your homework. Luo Miyuki didn't notice Mo Xian's evasive gaze and instead asked happily, Brother Mo Xian, you're staying for dinner with us on the weekend. Tell me now what you'd like to eat, and I'll have the Andes make it for you, okay? Mo Xian was about to ask how she knew he was staying for dinner, but after a thought, he said, somewhat guiltily, anything is fine. I'm good with anything. Luo Miyuki was completely absorbed in the fact that Mo Xian was staying for dinner. That day, she specially took out all the dresses she had brought with her. The Luo family wasn't short on money. Almost all of Luo Miyuki's dresses were custom-made. Do you really need to be so serious about this? Luo Xia leaned against the doorway, watching her younger sister try on one dress after another in front of the mirror, and couldn't help but give a wry smile. You were never this particular, even when you attended banquets with Mom and Dad. How can that be the same? Luo Miyuki didn't even look at her sister. This is the first time Brother Mo Xian and I are having a proper meal together. Of course, it's important. Miyuki, you're only 12, Luo Xia said, unable to resist facepalming. We don't even let you watch those teen dramas. How did you get so precocious? Luo Miyuki blushed furiously at Luo Xia's words, put the dress on the bed, and pushed Luo Xia out. You're just talking nonsense, sis. Brother Mo Xian and I are still so young, and you're teasing us like that. Luo Xia smiled and let Luo Miyuki push her out of the room. But as she left, Luo Xia looked at her younger sister with a somewhat complicated expression and said nothing more. She felt she had been a bit unfair. It was she who had arranged for Mo Xian to accompany Luo Miyuki, yet she herself was pestering him with chats every day. However, secretly chatting with Mo Xian like this had also allowed Luo Xia's mind to relax considerably. As the older sister, Luo Xia had never shown her softer, vulnerable side in front of her younger sister. She was human too, and she also found these days too hard to bear. But she couldn't talk about it with Luo Miyuki, nor could she talk about it with Butler Zheng and the others. Until Mo Xian appeared. Chatting with him, Luo Xia gradually eased her mind. Moreover, this secret that belonged only to the two of them gave Luo Xia an added thrill of clandestine joy. Although she knew this might be a little mean, on the day of the dinner, Luo Xia, dressed casually, looked at her younger sister, who was dressed up like a little princess, and had to forcibly stop herself from laughing out loud. Miyuki, don't you think you're being a bit too extravagant? She was even wearing a small tiara on her head. But Luo Miyuki didn't care at all. She even shot her sister a glare, huffed, and said, This is called paying attention to etiquette. Not like you, sis, with no sense of hospitality at all. Right, you have it. You have the most of it. It certainly wasn't me who sulked and refused to come downstairs to greet guests before. Luo Xia grumbled silently to herself about her sister. but her gaze kept darting towards the door. After a short while, Imo Xian arrived. Seeing Luo Miyuki so extravagantly dressed up, Imo Xian was quite taken aback. Are you having guests? In that case, I should probably. Imo Xian mistakenly thought other guests were expected and was about to retreat, but Butler Zheng quickly stopped him, saying with a chuckle, No, it's just you. Only you. Come on in. Brother Imo Xian, do I look pretty? Luo Miyuki blushed, walking over so Imo Xian could get a better look at her outfit. Imo Xian lowered his head, his face also flushed red, and mumbled, Yes, very nice. During dinner, Luo Miyuki proactively chatted and joked with Imo Xian from time to time. Butler Zheng at the side was about to offer a reminder, but Luo Xia stopped him with a look. The Luo family had many rules. No talking during meals or before bed was a basic requirement. However, right now, Luo Xia didn't want to adhere to those rules. Besides, Imo Xian was very polite. Although he and Luo Miyuki chatted and laughed, they weren't excessive. After dinner, Imo Xian and Luo Miyuki chatted for a while longer in the courtyard, while Luo Xia continued to watch them from the second-floor balcony. It had to be said, Imo Xian's appearance had changed her, and it had changed her sister too. However, the unease in Luo Xia's heart grew stronger. She didn't even understand why she had forbidden Imo Xian from adding other people on his Penguin ID and deliberately said those things about preventing premature romance. Especially when she saw Imo Xian and Luo Miyuki in the courtyard. It was clearly a picture of childhood innocence, yet she felt so conflicted. Only after Imo Xian left did Luo Miyuki skip happily upstairs, even humming a cheerful tune. Luo Xia sighed, her heart finally conceding. Since they were little, their parents had been busy with work, and Luo Miyuki trusted her the most. Seeing someone make Luo Miyuki happy actually made her happy too. It just had to be Imo Xian, the very same Imo Xian who made her feel differently as well. Miyuki, can I tell you something? Luo Xia hesitated for a moment, then called her sister over. Luo Miyuki, not understanding, walked over and looked at her sister curiously. Luo Xia took out her phone, showed her the chat history with Mo Xian, and then said with a wry smile, These past few days, besides helping you with homework and talking to you, he's also been constantly chatting with me on Penguin Messenger. I knew it. Luo Miyuki shot her sister a fierce glare. You were secretly looking at him when he was helping me with homework. Sis, and you were lecturing me. You're in high school. Luo Xia looked away guiltily, then took out a new phone. This is for you. I had Butler Zheng send someone to buy it. I also got you a Penguin ID. Luo Miyuki had still been angry, but when she saw the phone, she snatched it up and began examining it eagerly. However, when she saw the peculiar screen name her sister had chosen for her, made of 5 snow characters, Luo Miyuki looked at her sister with some disdain. Can I change the name? Imo Xian and I both have screen names following this pattern. See for yourself. Fine. I guess I'll just make do with it then. Luo Miyuki, now you're being picky. From that day on, their 2-person chat became a 3-person group chat. Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki didn't know that. In fact, the course for everything that would happen in the future was slowly being set at this very moment. They also didn't know that while Imo Xian was special to them, they were special to Imo Xian too. Memories 6. Imo Xian had never imagined that his relationship with the 2 sisters would continue like this. Of course, what gave him the biggest headache was that now, not only did he have to accompany Luo Miyuki with her homework and accept Luo Xia's guidance, but he also had to chat with both sisters every night. Luo Xia had created a group chat with just the 3 of them, and every day they would talk together. They'd press Imo Xian for details about school. And of course, the main topic was always Imo Xian's puppy love situation. Snowy, 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 snowy. Big brother, we're still too young, so we absolutely have to study hard. Vivi, 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 Vivi. +1. Imo Xian felt like his head was about to explode. In the past, Luo Xia would lecture him daily on the dangers of puppy love, and now Luo Miyuki was following suit. Jokes aside, Imo Xian actually enjoyed his current life. When he was with Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki, he experienced feelings he'd never had before. Imo Xian, who had always been a loner, only really knew Su Yanran, whom he always had to accommodate in everything. Unconsciously, Mo Xian seemed to have gotten used to going over to accompany Luo Miyuki with her homework every day and then, after finishing his own tasks, lying in bed at night to chat with the 2 of them. Imo Xian eventually mentioned the situation to his grandmother. After all, it wasn't right to keep hiding it from her. His grandmother was worried and even paid a visit herself. To Imo Xian's surprise, after her visit, she didn't forbid him from seeing the sisters. It was actually quite understandable. Grandma even felt a little embarrassed. From any angle, it looked like her grandson was the one benefiting. Yet she had gone over there looking like she was there to reprimand them. However, she had run into a teacher she knew from the past who remained tight-lipped about the family, so Grandma didn't press further. Kyoto wasn't lacking in wealthy and influential families. If they didn't want to disclose their status for certain reasons, she didn't need to delve into it. Besides, in Grandma's mind at the time, they would leave sooner or later. And while her foolish grandson was smart, he was still clueless when it came to matters of the heart, perhaps even a bit dense about romance. Otherwise, why was he always like that with Su Yanran? Both Grandma Su and his own grandma had hoped Mo Xian and Su Yanran could be engaged, but although Mo Xian seemed to accommodate Su Yanran in everything, there didn't seem to be any deeper feelings involved. After thinking it over, Grandma felt that perhaps the children were still too young, and it was too early to worry about such things, so she didn't dwell on it too much. Mo Xian continued living like this. The only change was that every time he went to the old Western-style mansion, he would look up and see Luo Xia standing on the second-floor balcony, smiling and waving at him. Once he entered the courtyard, Luo Miyuki would quickly run over, take his hand, and happily lead him inside. Time passed bit by bit, and soon it was New Year. Every New Year, Mo Xian and his grandmother would spend it with Grandma Zhang's family. As for his own parents, they would make a symbolic appearance during the day, sometimes bringing one of his sisters. But this year, Mo Xian wasn't waiting for them at home. He had promised Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki that he would spend it with them, and his grandmother had agreed. Here, take these over to them. Grandma handed Mo Xian several bags. Inside are some New Year supplies I bought, and also some dumplings I made. They might not think much of them, but we can't be impolite. After I deal with those clueless parents of yours, I'll head over to Grandma Zhang's. With that, Grandma muttered under her breath. Letting you go over on New Year's Day, they must really think highly of you. Grandma, what did you say? Mo Xian, who was changing his shoes, didn't hear clearly. Grandma waved her hand. Nothing, you should get going. Grandma lived with Mo Xian every day, so when he occasionally mentioned going out for the New Year, she didn't think too much of it. Besides, Grandma could see that after interacting with the two sisters, Mo Xian had changed for the better. In the past, although Mo Xian was sensible and filial, he always seemed lonely. Perhaps only when Su Yanran came over would Mo Xian act a little more like someone his age. Mo Xian carried the bags to the old mansion. When he arrived, he saw Luo Xia still standing on the balcony, holding a cup of hot tea with both hands. When she saw him, she smiled and waved. You're here. By the time he entered the courtyard, Luo Xia had already come downstairs, but Luo Miyuki was nowhere to be seen. Seeing the bags in Mo Xian's hands, Luo Xia smiled and said, Did Grandma ask you to bring these? Yes, she asked me to bring them, and also some dumplings she made herself. Mo Xian said, a little embarrassed. They're just inexpensive things, I hope you don't mind. How could we? Luo Xia suddenly reached out and ruffled Mo Xian's hair. Mo Xian felt his face flush, and he lowered his head even more. Uncle Zheng, could you have someone take the things little Xian brought into the kitchen? Luo Xia turned and instructed Uncle Zheng. Where's little Shui? Isn't she out yet? Coming. Luo Miyuki suddenly ran out from her room, wearing an adorable pink padded jacket and cute rabbit earmuffs. Like a little pixie, she rushed towards Mo Xian. Just as she opened her arms, Luo Xia grabbed her by the waist from behind. Sis, why are you hugging me? Oh, nothing. Happy New Year. Luo Xia sneered inwardly. Such a young kid. Are you trying to act out a scene from a teen drama? Trying to hug him right in front of me? Luo Miyuki glared fiercely at her sister. Unfortunately, at only 12 years old, she was shorter than Luo Xia, and for some reason, her sister seemed unusually strong today. After finally wriggling free from Luo Xia, Luo Miyuki grabbed Mo Xian's right hand, shot a defiant look at her sister, and then said to Mo Xian with a smile, Big brother, let's go build a snowman, okay? Oh, all right. Mo Xian, completely oblivious to what had just happened, nodded in agreement. However, he didn't expect Luo Xia to grab his left hand. I'll join you. It's been a while since I last built a snowman. Luo Xia smiled at Luo Miyuki and even hummed a line from a song. You never noticed? You always hold my hand with your right, but your heart beats on the left. At first, Luo Miyuki didn't understand what her sister meant. She looked down at her right hand holding Mo Xian's, then carefully recalled the song her sister sang. Aren't you just saying that even though we're both holding Big Brother's hand, you're still closer to him? That's too unfair. However, no one noticed that Mo Xian whose hands are being held by the two sisters, felt like his face was about to steam. Let's just build the snowman. Mo Xian found an excuse to break free from the sisters, quickly squatted down, and started rolling a snowball. Sis, why aren't you asleep? The bedroom door was suddenly pushed open, and Luo Muki, wearing pajamas, came in to see Luo Xia sitting by the window, staring blankly at Mo Xian. It's nothing, just thinking about some things from the past. Luo Xia smiled. Muki, it's my turn today, and you came in without knocking again. Hey, you want to talk, sis? Haven't you done this plenty of times yourself? Luo Muki sat down beside Mo Xian, gently stroking his face with an incredibly tender smile. Seeing this, Luo Xia felt a momentary daze. The little sister who used to chase after Mo Xian and secretly compete with her was now as tall as she was. By the way, Muki, do you remember what we said that New Year when you, me, and Lil Xian were building a snowman together? Hearing her sister's words, Luo Muki looked up at her with a wry smile. I remember. Every New Year from then on, the three of us had to spend it together. But after saying that, they only spent 2 more New Years together. After that, she and Luo Xia lost Mo Xian for a long time, and even when they found him again, he didn't remember them. Perhaps nothing is ever destined to be perfect. Luo Xia turned to look out the window. Actually, I often wonder, if we hadn't lost him for so long, would you and I have reached this point today, and what would have become of him and us? Perhaps she would have married Mo Xian, or perhaps Luo Muki would have. But either outcome would have hurt them as sisters. And yet, they were both equally stubborn, neither willing to give up Mo Xian. I remember after the New Year's Eve dinner that year, didn't you sneak into the guest room where little Xian was staying? Luo Xia suddenly asked. Muki, you were only 12 back then. Sis, don't talk nonsense. I was secretly giving Big Brother a present. Luo Muki quickly retorted. And you want to talk? When I got up that morning, I clearly saw you coming out of Big Brother's room. Oh, I was delivering a present too. None of your business. Luckily, Mo Xian was a deep sleeper and didn't hear the two sisters shamelessly dishing out embarrassing stories about each other from back then, behind his back. And every single one of them involved him. Recollection 7. Perhaps, just as Xia had said, neither she nor Muki knew what might have happened if it weren't for those 2 years without Mo Xian. However, as time slowly passed, Xia became certain of one thing. She had fallen for this boy, 3 years her junior. The thought always made Xia chuckle. How had her first love turned out to be so peculiar? What she found even more absurd was that her silly younger sister, Muki, also harbored unusual feelings for Mo Xian. Growing up, Xia, as the older sister, had always seemed flawless. On the contrary, she was very good to Muki, always letting her have her way in everything. But this time, for the very first time, Xia felt an unwillingness to yield. In fact, she had noticed more than once that Mo Xian's personality was very similar to her own. Both had been forced to mature early due to certain circumstances. She did it for her sister, while Mo Xian did it for his grandmother. After that New Year, the three of them grew much closer. The worst thing about winter was catching a cold or fever, and, as it happened, Xia carelessly came down with a high one. Xia wasn't like others. When she had a fever, her appetite would plummet, her mouth would taste constantly bitter, she'd feel dizzy and hot, and her temper would sour. However, in the past, to maintain her sensible image, she would always suppress these feelings. But whenever the maids brought her food, she would often just take a single bite and refuse to eat anymore. Eldest miss, please at least have a bite, a maid would patiently coax. Your fever isn't going down. How will you get better if you don't eat? Xia wouldn't answer, merely staring out the window in silence. At these times, Xia was actually at her most vulnerable. She was only 16. Since childhood, with her parents always busy, she had to attend school, learn etiquette, and master the instruments, dance, and other skills favored by the so-called upper circles. But during times like this, her parents were often absent. It was only at these moments that Xia lacked the energy to maintain her sensible facade. She might even act out a little intentionally. If she got even sicker, would her parents at least come to see her? The more she understood the Luo family's current difficulties, the sadder she felt. Such were Xia's conflicting emotions. She didn't know when she had fallen asleep. She had taken her medicine, and the Luo family's trusted private doctor had also come to see her. It was almost always like this whenever she got sick. Xia had grown accustomed to it. In her groggy state, Xia suddenly felt something cool on her forehead, as if someone had placed a towel there. The uncomfortable feeling seemed to ease. Half asleep, half awake, Xia thought she saw someone sitting by her bed, looking at her with deep concern. It couldn't be Miyuki, because whenever Shia was sick, she forbade Miyuki from coming near her to prevent her from catching it. After a while, the towel on her head gradually warmed up. The person removed it and replaced it with a fresh, cool one. Don't go. Shia suddenly reached out and grabbed the person's hand. The person said nothing, simply letting Shia hold on, sitting by her bed, only getting up occasionally to change the towel for her. It wasn't until Shia slowly woke up that she saw Mo Xian sitting on the chair by her bed, his hand still grasped in hers. She didn't remember how long she had slept, but Mo Xian had just stayed there quietly by her side. Wei Wei, you're awake? Seeing Shia stir, Mo Xian couldn't help but smile. I came to play with Xiao Xua. She has a painting lesson today. I didn't expect you to be sick. Butler Zheng said you needed your towel changed, so I helped. In truth, Mo Xian had only wanted to see if Shia was feeling better. He hadn't expected her to grab his hand, and so he had truly sat there, motionless, by her side until she woke up. Looking at Mo Xian's bright, warm smile, Shia felt a wave of daze, and her grip on his hand tightened. From that moment on, Shia was finally completely sure she had someone she liked. Oh, right, Butler Zheng told me that your mouth gets bitter when you have a fever. I wasn't sure what to do about it. Mo Xian fumbled in his pocket with his free hand for a moment and pulled out a lychee-flavored lollipop. He had wanted to pull his hand free, but Shia was holding on too tightly, so Mo Xian could only struggle to unwrap the lollipop with one hand. This is sweet, Wei Wei. Maybe you'll feel a bit better after eating it. Shia looked into Mo Xian's eyes, then slowly opened her mouth, letting him place the candy inside. It is sweet. Shia smiled weakly. Stay with me a little longer. Okay. Mo Xian nodded, still sitting quietly by Shia's bedside. That time, Shia herself didn't know how long she had held Mo Xian's hand. She only knew it felt very comforting. For the first time, she even thought that being sick was actually not so bad. It's a rare sight. The eldest miss actually agreed to eat. A maid coming downstairs exclaimed to Butler Zheng. The eldest miss ate a whole bowl on her own initiative. Though really for someone her age, acting all cute with young Mo and having him feed her. Butler Zheng, however, looked as if he understood everything, a knowing, enigmatic smile on his face. The only thing he felt was perhaps a bit unsuitable wasn't the boy a little too young? Just as Butler Zheng was lost in these thoughts, Miyuki's hysterical cries echoed from the courtyard. Sister is sick, and you still don't come. Work, work, work. Go let work be your daughter then. Shia chose to internalize her pain, while Miyuki would forcibly suppress hers until it finally erupted. In fact, since they had moved, and especially after Mo Xian arrived, Miyuki hadn't lost her temper with her parents like this for a long time. Shia falling ill was more like a trigger for Miyuki to vent. Birthdays, New Year's, every important occasion, she and her sister would wait in vain for their parents. Mo Xian's presence had only alleviated Miyuki's negative emotions, but it didn't mean they had truly disappeared. Butler Zheng, what do we do? Previously, when Miyuki was like this, Shia would be there to comfort her, and she'd quickly recover. But now Shia was ill, and when Miyuki had one of her fits, the servants didn't dare say much, and even Butler Zheng was often at a loss. But that was all in the past. Butler Zheng's eyes darted thoughtfully, and he whispered to a nearby maid, Young Mo should be heading back soon. Go to the eldest miss's room and ask young Mo to come down and coax the second miss. Huh, will that work? Although they all liked Mo Xian and thought he was a good kid, they really didn't believe he could calm the second miss down when she was in a temper. Don't worry, just go and do it. The maids were skeptical at first, but after Mo Xian came downstairs and saw Miyuki crying on the outer steps, he said nothing and simply walked away. A little while later, he returned with a candied hawthorn stick, handed it to Miyuki, and then smiled as he gently patted her head. No way, Tish, that's all it took. She's fine now. The maids watched in astonishment as Miyuki's tears turned into a smile. Mo Xian offered her a tissue, and she, just like Shia had earlier, acted cute, insisting that Mo Xian wipe her tears for her. Watching from the side, Butler Zheng grew even more worried. What would happen in the future? One Mo Xian wasn't going to be enough for the two of them. After Mo Xian left, Shia bought many lollipops of the same flavor, and Miyuki sent people out almost daily to buy candied hawthorn sticks from different shops or street vendors. But neither Shia nor Miyuki could ever recapture that same sweetness from the past. It was only then they realized that what had tasted so sweet to them was never the food itself, but the person. Memories 8. As Mo Xian spent more and more time with them, the three of them took more and more photos together. Luo Xia often thought that it wouldn't be a bad idea to document Mo Xian's life, little by little from middle school, high school, through college. She had even once considered that since they had already bought this old villa, if Mo Xian grew up, they could simply use it as their future marital home, which would also make it convenient for him to accompany his grandmother. Her favorite was the photo she had enlarged and kept in a secret room. Back then, Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki's desires for control and possession were strong, but they hadn't yet developed to the pathological extent they would later. If Mo Xian hadn't lost his memory, he would surely remember that their repeated prohibitions against him dating early on Penguin Chat were really nothing compared to what came later. For example, every day when Mo Xian went to do homework with Luo Miyuki after school, Luo Xia would stop him and check his phone. Wei, didn't you just check it yesterday? And Mo Xian didn't really mind. Luo Xia had given him the phone, and he had no use for it anyway, aside from chatting with his sisters every night. Hearing Mo Xian's words, Luo Xia, having finished her inspection, returned the phone to him and said with a serious expression, "I'm doing this for your own good. Many kids have Penguin Chat these days, and those boys will only try to lure you into playing with them, and girls. Don't worry, I won't date early, and I definitely won't add any girls." Mo Xian felt like this phrase had practically become his catchphrase. He said it every day when they met and also when they chatted online. Luo Xia nodded with satisfaction, then suddenly reached out and pinched his earlobe, startling Mo Xian. Xiao Xian is so obedient. Luo Xia smiled and withdrew her hand. "Go on, Miyuki is waiting for you." Mo Xian felt his earlobe, where Luo Xia had pinched it, burning a little. He lowered his head and mumbled an then had only taken 2 steps when he slapped his forehead, turned back, and said to Luo Xia, Wei, I might not be able to come tomorrow. It's a day off." "What's wrong? Is something up?" Luo Xia looked at him curiously. "Are you going to train with Grandpa Zhang?" "It's okay. Miyuki and I will wait for you." Grandpa Zhang had taken Mo Xian as his last disciple when he was young, mainly because Mo Xian's talent was truly astonishing. He learned quickly and understood things comprehensively. However, Grandpa Zhang's health deteriorated later, and their joint morning training sessions eventually turned into Mo Xian practicing his forms and jogging alone in the early mornings. Occasionally on weekends, Mo Xian would train with Grandpa Zhang when he felt a bit better, but it never took too long. "Yes, I have to train with Master, and also a longtime friend of my grandmother is coming to visit," Mo Xian said, sounding somewhat helpless. "She has a granddaughter, whom I've known since we were little. Every time she visits, my grandma makes me keep her company." Hearing Mo Xian's words, Luo Xia's eyes turned cold for a moment. Then she smiled and said, "Oh, I see. Well, that can't be helped. Will you still come over for dinner?" "Probably not. That Grandma Sue always stays for a long time when she visits, and she'll have dinner with us too. I'll probably only be able to come over to do homework with Miyuki after school." Mo Xian didn't notice Luo Xia's eyes growing colder and colder. Though she maintained a smile, her right hand had slowly clenched into a fist. "Xiao Xian, do you like that girl then?" "Of course not. She's 2 or 3 months younger than me. I only see her as a little sister." Mo Xian didn't detect the acidity in Luo Xia's tone at all, but he continued honestly, "Besides, she's a bit of a handful with a spoiled princess attitude. But she's Grandma Sue's granddaughter, and I'm a boy, so I just indulge her. Sometimes I wonder, she's also from a wealthy family, so why is there such a big difference between her and you, Wei, and Xiao Shui? You and Xiao Shui are never like her." Mo Xian wasn't just saying this to be nice. It was how he genuinely felt. Su Yanran, ever since she was little, always had to have things her way. What to eat, what to play, where to go. She decided everything. If things didn't go her way, she'd get upset, either throwing a tantrum or crying. It was a good thing Mo Xian was more mature and good-natured than her, and he always indulged her, remembering his grandmother's wishes. But it wasn't like that with Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki. Mo Xian didn't understand back then that when he was with them, everything was a two-way street, not just him suppressing his own negative emotions to compromise. Whatever Mo Xian did, the 2 sisters would always respond, and vice versa. And because of this, their relationship grew stronger and stronger. Of course, this was all aside from the daily, much-anticipated no early dating lectures, and the times when Mo Xian wasn't looking and the 2 sisters would secretly squabble over him. Though most of the time, Luo Miyuki was a one-sided punching bag, as she was still young back then. At dinner time, Mo Xian had already gone home. Luo Xia glanced at Luo Miyuki, who was humming a tune and holding her chopsticks, ready to pick up some food, and said lightly, Xiao Xian isn't coming tomorrow. Didn't he tell you? Luo Muki froze, the piece of fish she had just picked up falling back on her plate. Seeing this, a flicker of triumph crossed Luo Xia's eyes. It seems I'm more important after all. Otherwise, why would he only tell me? In reality, she didn't know that Mo Xian had only told her because he considered her the older sister. After all, in this household, it was just the two sisters. Uncle Zheng and the others were servants. So, Mo Xian told Luo Xia. The most unnecessary thing the two sisters did was to prevent him from dating early. After all, he was a bit of a dense, straight-laced guy, and quite clueless in these matters. He's training with Master, right? Luo Muki said, feigning indifference as she picked up the piece of fish again. It's fine. Gidge will come after he's done training. He can't. His grandmother's friend is visiting, and she's bringing her granddaughter, who's his age. Luo Xia shrugged. After he finishes training, he has to keep her company, and he'll have dinner with her too. Uncle Zheng, listening from the side, almost burst out laughing. Young miss, your sarcasm is a bit too obvious, isn't it? However, while this tactic might not work on others, after Luo Muki heard this, the piece of fish dropped directly onto the table this time. Luo Muki suddenly slammed her chopsticks on the table, puffed out her cheeks angrily, and declared, I'm not eating. Then don't eat, Luo Xia said nonchalantly. He comes every day anyway, so it's no big deal if he misses one once in a while. Uncle Zheng couldn't help but roll his eyes. Oh yes, young miss, you're so right. I wonder who it is that stands on the balcony half an hour early every day, like a wife yearning for her husband's return. Luo Muki remained silent, her eyes gradually turning red as tears welled up. Actually, I have an idea. Luo Xia picked up a piece of stir-fried beef and placed it in her bowl. If you want Xiao Xian to spend the weekend at our place, little sister, you might have to make a small sacrifice. Sometimes, the methods don't need to be new as long as they're effective. And there's one crucial factor. The other person must care about you. So, the next day, after Mo Xian finished training with Grandpa Zhang and before he could head home, he received a call from Luo Xia. Xiao Shui is sick, Xiao Xian. Do you want to come and see her? Without a moment's hesitation, Mo Xian jumped on his bicycle, hastily said a few words to Grandpa Zhang, and sped off to the old villa. However, when he arrived at Luo Muki's bedroom and saw her sitting on the bed, eating fruit and reading a Doraemon manga, he almost died of anger. Aren't you sick? I am, Gidge, look. Luo Muki held out her right hand, her index finger wrapped in a band-aid. I accidentally cut my finger yesterday. It might cause. Luo Muki thought for a long time, then finally picked up her phone, glanced at it, and said, a wound infection leading to fever, chills, difficulty breathing, loss of appetite. Yes, that's what it means. Mo Xian. Luo Muki got off the bed, picked up a box of cherries from the side, and offered it to Mo Xian pitifully, saying, Gidge, don't be angry. I just heard from older sister that you couldn't come today. And you know, Gidge is my only friend. You could have just told me directly, Xiao Shui. Mo Xian sighed, gave a wry smile, and reached out to pat her head. You don't need to lie like this next time. It's not right. Of course, the Mo Xian of the present had no idea that his future self would not only be tricked by these two sisters to the point of not knowing his way home, but would also be tricked into dedicating his entire life to them. That day, Luo Xia and Luo Muki were in exceptionally good moods and insisted on taking photos with Mo Xian. Luo Xia hugged Mo Xian from behind, while Luo Muki pounced into his arms. Mo Xian could only give a helpless, wry smile, but he didn't pay much mind to it. Every time they looked at that photo and thought of the Mo Xian of today, the two sisters, in fact, no longer cared so much whether his memories returned or not. Even if he had forgotten their past, Mo Xian was still Mo Xian. He had never changed. Remembrance 9. Time passed, bit by bit, and along with it, the three of them grew taller. During the spring festival of her 14th year, Luo Muki had lost her baby fat. Not only had she grown taller, but her appearance had also transformed from that of a cute little girl into a young beauty. Luo Xia, on the other hand, had gained an air of composure and maturity. The only thing that hadn't changed was that they still clung to Mo Xian, just as they always had. Mo Xian had also grown quite a bit taller. Although his major growth spurt didn't hit until high school, he was already about the same height as Luo Xia, who was just over 170 centimeters, or perhaps even a little taller. His old, large Conan-style glasses had been replaced. Luo Xia had Uncle Zheng find someone to make new glasses with Mo Xian's prescription, fitted with Prada frames. Mo Xian, who once still had a touch of boyishness, now turned heads when he walked down the street. After all, he was blessed with an exceptionally handsome face. For nearly 2 years, the sisters had gone from trying to brainwash him against early romance to outright irrationality. Look, you come over to spend time with me in Xiaoxiu every day. A lone man, with 2 girls in one room. Me and Xiaoxiu's reputations are important, you know. That's right, brother. You especially can't date anyone now. You have to think, what about me and my sister? My sister might be okay, but how old am I? Xiaoxian, you can't forget that one time during summer vacation when you stayed over at our house, that day. Before the 2 sisters could finish their nonsense, Imo Xian quickly raised his hand to stop them. How come the older he got, the crazier they became? Imo Xian was the classic type, good-looking but oblivious to it. He had a reserved personality and usually kept to himself. Since the sisters came into his life, he, who already had little inclination to maintain relationships with others, cared even less now. But that didn't stop others from liking him, especially Su Yanran. She had originally pestered him to play with her every day precisely because of his handsome face. Luo Xia and Luo Myuki always felt uneasy, so they asked Sister Hui to find someone to follow Imo Xian. Although Sister Hui and her people were primarily there to protect them, it wasn't out of the question to spare 1 or 2. The good news was that Imo Xian was still the same as before. The bad news was that more girls had started to like him. So, Luo Xia simply changed her tactics, escalating from no early romance to if Imo Xian likes someone else, it's tantamount to loving and leaving them. Imo Xian wanted to argue, but when he thought about it carefully, he had held the sisters' hands almost every day. He had also been hugged by them more than once. But as for staying over, there was actually nothing to it. That summer vacation, Luo Xia had asked Imo Xian to come over, and the 3 of them watched a movie together. Because they stayed up too late, the 3 of them fell asleep on the sofa. When they woke up the next day, Luo Xia was leaning on Imo Xian's shoulder, and Luo Myuki was hugging his arm. Somehow, this incident became leverage for Luo Xia and Luo Myuki. Don't ask. If you do, the answer is always, it concerns a girl's reputation. Look, Xiaoxian, you have some understanding of mine and Xiaoxiu's family background. You should know that families like ours place great importance on a girl's reputation. So, you basically slept on the same sofa with me and Xiaoxiu for a night, and there was intimate contact. What you need to think about now is how you're going to take responsibility for us after you turn 18. Of course, we could talk about that later, but if word got out, our family would definitely be gossiped about. So, this also concerns our family's reputation, which means you absolutely cannot have any kind of relationship with other girls. When Luo Xia used this set of twisted logic to fool Imo Xian, Uncle Zheng almost coughed up a mouthful of old blood. Never mind your talent for far-fetched nonsense, young miss. How many times have you and the second miss thrown yourselves at him? Holding hands, hugging. And when the second miss kissed Imo Xian's cheek on her birthday, you weren't shy either, were you? Didn't you do the same on your 17th birthday? You harp on about the 3 of them falling asleep on the sofa watching a movie, but you don't mention a single word about all the things you 2 sisters have done. Now you care about reputation? Do the old madam, the master, and the madam know that you and the second miss throw yourselves at him like this every day? Actually, Imo Xian also knew Luo Xia was talking nonsense, but from that time on, he had started to go along with their wishes. Unlike with Su Yanran, whom he didn't want to bother arguing with. When it came to them, Imo Xian was willing. As long as they were happy, that was all that mattered. This New Year's Eve, Imo Xian stayed over at the old villa again. Luo Myuki, who had wanted to watch the fireworks with them to ring in the new year, had fallen asleep because she was too tired. Xiaoxian, let's go out for a walk, shall we? Luo Xia leaned in close to him and whispered, let's go watch the fireworks outside, just nearby, okay? Imo Xian hesitated. Previously, when Luo Myuki had wanted to go out, Imo Xian felt terrible seeing her cry and had taken her to an amusement park. But after only a short while, Uncle Zheng and his men had found them and brought them back. That time, Luo Xia hadn't said anything, merely gently poked Imo Xian's forehead. Xiaoxiu calls you brother, after all. It's fine for you to dote on her, but you can't indulge her in everything. Seeming to guess Imo Xian's thoughts, Luo Xia smiled and said, it's just nearby. And look, it's 11:50 p.m. now. We'll come back after the fireworks. I'm the one suggesting it this time, and we won't go far. It'll be fine. Okay, I understand. Imo Xian nodded, picked up his coat, and went out of the old villa with Luo Xia. The area where they lived wasn't very lively on ordinary days, and it wasn't much better during the new year. Most elderly people were taken by their children to celebrate the new year elsewhere. A few, like Mo Xian and his grandmother stayed. At least his grandmother could go to Grandpa Zhang's place. But some elderly folks were truly alone at home, in the quiet and cold. Then there were those whose children came to accompany their parents for the new year, suddenly making the homes lively. But by the next day, they might become quiet and deserted again. And Mo Xian and Luo Xia didn't walk far, staying nearby, leaving 2 rows of faint footprints behind them. By the way, Sister Wei Wei, when you go to university, will you be leaving? And Mo Xian suddenly looked up at Luo Xia. I didn't see you attend high school, so what about the college entrance exams? Luo Xia shook her head with a wry smile and didn't answer. Luo Sheng had told her that if things weren't resolved before the college entrance exams, they would have to go abroad to study. They were originally supposed to be sent abroad, but at that time, going overseas was too risky. Even leaving the capital city wasn't safe, so they had resorted to this method. But after all this time, Luo Sheng and Luo Quan had gradually gained control of the situation. However, the illegitimate son and the people behind him still had some power, so they had continued to live here. In fact, Shun Qingyun had visited a few times in the past and had met Mo Xian once. At that time, Shun Qingyun was solely focused on comforting her daughters. Seeing that Mo Xian was not only good-looking, but also an excellent student with a good personality, she hadn't stopped him from associating with her daughters. But as a mother, Shun Qingyun had still warned Mo Xian. Besides not speaking carelessly, he absolutely must not hurt her daughters. She was a woman. She could read the way Luo Xia looked at Mo Xian back then. She could understand her daughter. After all, she knew she herself wasn't exactly a normal person. Moreover, Luo Miyuki was extremely dependent on Mo Xian at that time, and her attitude towards him was vastly different from how she treated others. And Mo Xian had simply replied to her calmly and sincerely, "Rest assured, I won't." Recently, Shun Qingyun had been constantly telling Luo Xia about going abroad after the college entrance exams, but Luo Xia remained hesitant. If she and Luo Miyuki left, what would happen to Mo Xian? Mo Xian had burst into their lives, but hadn't they also burst into his? That's why Luo Xia had asked Mo Xian to come out with her. She had a very bold idea to share with him. "Xiao Xian, actually, my family plans to arrange for me and Xiao Xue to go abroad after my college entrance exams." Luo Xia suddenly stopped and looked at Mo Xian quietly. "I want to take you with us. Don't worry. I'll arrange for someone to take care of your grandmother. Once we're settled over there, if you're willing, I can bring your grandmother abroad too." The Luo family was not short of money. Arranging for Mo Xian and his grandmother was a small matter. Besides, even if his grandmother didn't go abroad, Luo Xia would find a way to ensure she received the best care. She had already mentioned to Shun Qingyun that if they went abroad, she and her sister had to take Mo Xian with them. Shun Qingyun wasn't very willing, but in the end, she had agreed. Parents are a child's first teachers. A smart woman like Shun Qingyun knew very well that her own possessiveness towards her husband had subtly influenced her daughters. She probably just couldn't imagine that in the future, her daughters would be even more extreme than her. Mo Xian looked at Luo Xia with some surprise, not expecting her to suddenly ask him such a question. Mo Xian wanted to refuse. After all, no matter how close he was to them, they were just friends. Moreover, he had his grandmother. Even if his grandmother agreed, he wouldn't feel at ease leaving her behind alone. Seeing Mo Xian hesitate, Luo Xia understood. She gently took his hand and said, "I know, Xiao Xian, this is a big decision. I won't pressure you for an immediate answer, but I can tell you, whether it's me or Xiao Xue, you are very special to us. I'm definitely not lying to you about this." "Okay, Sister Wei Wei, I promise you, I'll discuss it with my grandmother," Mo Xian said seriously. "Actually, after all this time, if I really couldn't see you and Xiao Xue anymore, I wouldn't be used to it either." Watching Mo Xian stammer, his eyes darting away, Luo Xia smiled and said, "It's almost midnight, Xiao Xian. Let me give you a present, okay? Close your eyes." Mo Xian didn't understand why, but at Luo Xia's repeated insistence, he closed his eyes. After a moment, Luo Xia's voice counting down reached his ears. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. When the countdown reached 1, the sound of firecrackers erupted from all directions, along with loud booms in the sky, and a sudden warmth and moistness on his lips. After a moment, a puff of warm air brushed his ear, accompanied by Luo Xia's gentle voice. "This is my present. Happy New Year, Xiao Xian." Memories 10. For Mo Xian at that time, this gift was too surprising and also too overwhelming for him to know how to react. Mo Xian was still naive about feelings, and Luo Xia and Luo Myuki had become an impossible choice for him. However, time didn't give him the chance to agonize over it, nor would it grant him the right to. Mo Xian didn't know what happened that day. In fact, Luo Xia and Luo Myuki hadn't expected it either. That day, Uncle Zheng noticed something amiss very early on. Strangers suddenly appeared outside, furtively looking around from time to time. Uncle Zheng didn't hesitate for a moment and had people prepare to take Luo Xia and Luo Myuki away. He stayed behind to hold off those men. Almost all the hands stayed, with only Sister Hui taking Luo Xia and Luo Myuki, seizing the chance when the conflict between the two sides erupted to leave the old villa. However, they hadn't expected that there would still be people intercepting them. That day, the illegitimate sons were clearly out to kill. The brothers Luo Quan and Luo Sheng were truly terrifying. In such a chaotic situation, over 2 years, the Luo family not only remained unaffected, but had instead driven them and their backers into a dead end. Secrets always find a way out. Whether it was the old villa where Luo Xia and Luo Myuki were hiding, or the residence arranged for Luot Tion by the Lu family, they were all eventually discovered. This was an open conspiracy. They had, in fact, guessed that given old Madame Luo's character, she would definitely choose Luot Tion, but they deliberately forced them to abandon Luo Xia and Luo Myuki this way. If they died, Luo Sheng and Shun Qingyun would suffer for a lifetime. Even if they didn't die, Luo Xia and Luo Myuki would surely grow estranged from them. How could Luo Sheng and old Madame Luo not have thought of what they could think of? But in the end, for the sake of the Luo family, he still prioritized taking people to save Luo Tion. At that time, there were only 2 cars at the old villa. Sister Hui didn't have time to drive, so she could only take them and flee amidst the chaos, only to be pursued by a second group of people. This way, come here. Mo Xian, carrying his school bag, suddenly appeared before them. He had just finished school and saw this scene when he was going to the old villa. Mo Xian, who had grown up in this area, was very familiar with the surroundings. He took a shortcut, circled around in front of them, and led Luo Xia, Luo Myuki, and Sister Hui away through a small path. And as it happened, Su Yanran saw them. She was very surprised, unsure what they were doing. You, a fierce-looking man, suddenly ran over. Did you see a woman with a girl older than you, and another girl about your age? Su Yanran was terrified. Her first instinct was not to say anything. But when she had previously followed Mo Xian and seen him with Luo Xia and Luo Myuki, a malicious thought had slowly begun to form in her mind. If they died, or were disfigured from a beating, wouldn't Mo Xian then revolve around me again? As if possessed, Su Yanran nodded. They went in that direction. In reality, she could have pointed in the opposite direction, or said she didn't know. These people's targets were only Luo Xia and Luo Myuki. They didn't want to cause extra trouble. But she still spoke. She underestimated her own malice. And even more so, she underestimated their importance in Mo Xian's heart. In fact, if Su Yanran hadn't revealed Mo Xian's group's whereabouts, Mo Xian could have completely led them away. We can't run anymore. Mo Xian sighed, looking back at the pale Luo Xia and Luo Myuki, who was already crying from fear. Sister Hui, take Wei Wei and Xiao Xue and go. I'll hold them off. What nonsense are you talking? Brother, hurry and leave with us. Of course, Luo Xia and Luo Myuki were unwilling, and Sister Hui also disagreed. But Mo Xian knew very well that if it were just him, or just him and the skilled Sister Hui, he could still escape given his familiarity with the terrain in this area. His original plan was to lead them out through a small path, but he hadn't expected those people to discover their whereabouts so quickly. He had wondered if someone had seen them and pointed them out to these people, but Mo Xian at that time never imagined that the one who pointed them out was actually Su Yanran. Mo Xian looked up and smiled at Luo Xia and Luo Myuki, then sighed softly and said in a low voice, "All right, let's go quickly." After speaking, Mo Xian suddenly turned and ran back, pushing over piles of debris in the narrow path as he ran. In truth, he knew, and Sister Hui also knew, that it was only a matter of time before they were caught. That's why Mo Xian chose this method. He heard the anguished and mournful cries of Luo Xia and Luo Myuki behind him. Reaching into his school uniform pocket, he touched the gift he had prepared for them. Mo Xian looked back at them, smiled, and then, without any hesitation, charged towards the people who had found them. When Luo Xia and Luo Myuki saw Mo Xian again, the clean, spotless boy was lying on the ground covered in blood, clinging to someone's thigh, unconscious. Mo Xian was very smart. In this situation, he was actually calmer. Using the narrow terrain nearby, the piled-up debris, and the skills Grandpa Zhang had personally taught him since he was young, he had even managed to take down 2 of them. The path was relatively narrow, so the opponents couldn't swarm him all at once. Plus, Mo Xian kept pushing over piles of debris, and they also discovered that this boy in a school uniform was a trained fighter, with pretty good skills. But the opponents were numerous and armed. In the end, Mo Xian took a heavy blow to the head with a stick. After that, his vision began to blur. He felt a warm liquid slowly trickling down his face, but at that moment, Mo Xian had no time to think about it. Mo Xian indeed had a lot of talent. Since childhood, he had sparred with Grandpa Zhang before he got sick and had fought with others too. But this time was different. The opponents were out to kill, and he knew that if he stepped aside, even if he saved his own life, he would suffer for the rest of it. In fact, if he could do it all over again, Mo Xian himself didn't know if he could go this far. Those thugs also hadn't expected this boy to be like someone who couldn't feel pain. No matter how they hit him, he wouldn't fall, nor did he cry out even once. Damn it, this kid is fucking crazy. Finally, Mo Xian couldn't hold on any longer, but he still clung desperately to one man's thigh, even biting it fiercely in the end. It was at this moment that Luo Sheng arrived with his men. Luo Xia and Luo Myuki, as if they had gone mad, rushed forward wanting to see Mo Xian, but Luo Sheng stopped them. It wasn't that he was cruel, but right then, he didn't dare to recklessly move Mo Xian, who was covered in injuries. That was the last time Luo Xia and Luo Myuki saw Mo Xian, or rather, the Mo Xian who still remembered them. From that incident onwards, Luo Xia and Luo Myuki understood a truth. They were powerless against their parents, and even more powerless against the Luo family. When the Shun family proposed taking them to Hoodoo, no matter how much Luo Xia and Luo Myuki protested, it was to no avail. In the end, Shun Xingyan forcefully put them on the Shun family's private jet. I told you, Mo Xian is out of critical danger. Shun Xingyan slapped Luo Xia hard across the face. I don't want this situation either. Can't you be a little more understanding? Luo Xia was held by 2 female bodyguards, her face, struck by Shun Xingyun, slowly swelling and turning red. She said nothing, but Luo Myuki smiled, tears streaming down her face as she looked at her mother. The result of being understanding is still being abandoned by you and Dad, isn't it? Luo Myuki's sarcasm deeply stung Shun Xingyun. At that moment, for the first time, Luo Xia and Luo Myuki saw panic and guilt in their mother's eyes. The 2 sisters didn't cry or protest anymore. Instead, they turned, supported each other, and boarded the plane together. Their days in Hoodoo were a torment. Their maternal grandparents weren't close to them, nor did they know how to be. All they could do was shower them with an endless stream of expensive gifts. But Luo Xia and Luo Myuki just stared at their phones day after day, or blankly at a black ring broken beyond repair. It was a gift Mo Xian had bought for them. Though not expensive, the naive boy had saved up for a long time to give it to them. The phone Luo Xia had given Mo Xian was found by the Luo family and returned to her. On his messaging app, there was still an unsent draft in their group chat of 3. I'll find a way to convince Grandma to go abroad with you. What was he going to say next? Luo Xia and Luo Myuki didn't know. From that day on, the 2 sisters seemed to lose all their spirit, listless day after day. News about Mo Xian came intermittently from the Luo family, saying he was recovering well. But the family's employees didn't know the full details, so it was unclear after which injury Mo Xian had lost his memory. When they finally returned from Hoodoo, Luo Xia and Luo Myuki didn't even go home, heading straight to the hospital instead. As it happened, Mo Xian, who had recovered well, was out for a walk. Luo Xia and Luo Myuki were thrilled and wanted to speak to him, but they didn't know what to say. Just then, Mo Xian saw them. He merely gave a polite nod, and, as he passed by, said courteously, "Excuse me, please." Luo Myuki was about to speak, but Luo Xia grabbed her hand. "Sis, why are you holding me back?" Luo Myuki was on the verge of tears. Brother must be angry. We were gone for so long. He must be angry with us. However, when she saw the devastated look in Luo Xia's eyes, Luo Myuki froze. Compared to her younger sister, Luo Xia was more perceptive then. Mo Xian wasn't angry. He simply didn't remember them at all. That look in his eyes didn't lie. Mo Xian wasn't hiding anything. It was simply the look one gives a stranger. After Luo Xia used the Luo family's connections to consult the doctor with her sister, Luo Myuki suddenly burst into loud sobs, like an abandoned child, helpless and despairing. Since being with Mo Xian, Luo Miyuki had never cried like this. Mo Xian had been her warmth for 2 years, but now, the person who had warmed her had completely forgotten her. Luo Xia leaned against the wall, her body feeling drained of all strength. In that moment, she only felt cold, so terribly cold. It wasn't just that she felt no warmth within herself. She couldn't even sense the temperature of her surroundings. When they returned to the Luo residence that day, Luo Sheng saw his daughters and was about to speak when Luo Miyuki violently kicked over a decorative vase. That day, everyone thought the eldest and second young mistresses had lost their minds. It was as if they were venting or perhaps retaliating. Luo Sheng stared blankly at the scene, unsure what to say. "I don't hate you for abandoning Miyuki and me, Father," Luo Xia said, standing amidst the wreckage, staring icily at Luo Sheng. "What I hate is that you made us lose Mo Xian. When you neglected us, he was there for us. When you abandoned us, he saved us. Father, what you and Mother couldn't do, someone we've known for only 2 years did. My own parents chose to abandon us in our most desperate hour, while a 15-year-old boy chose to risk his life to save us." Every word Luo Xia uttered, every syllable, was like a knife twisting in Luo Sheng's heart. He couldn't offer any defense, nor could he refute her words. From that day on, Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki changed. No one knew what the sisters were thinking, much less what they planned to do. When all their preparations were complete, after being lured by Mo Jinpeng's scheme, but then brought to a hotel by Sister Huey's people, Luo Xia and Luo Miyuki, having dismissed everyone else, looked at Mo Xian. Their once dull eyes shone brightly again. But within that brightness, there was now a morbid, obsessive possessiveness. "Xiao Xian, after tonight, you'll be ours. Brother, I've missed you so much."